Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise, over on my Twitter, at the Eljay Johnsen, where you can find updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you head on over to my email, eljayjohnsen@gmail.com, where you can send in whatever question you want, and I will do my darndest to get back to you. I will say I'm awful at replying to emails. So if I haven't responded, please don't assume it's personal. I'm just really bad at it. Okay, so one other disclaimer before we begin. This is my second attempt at using Streamlabs OBS for the show. It's been working well for the TTV podcast and all of its different other podcasts. And I've tried to use this program for last week's show, but that was, it didn't work. So we're going to try it. Let me know how everything sounds. Let me know if there are any issues. Keep me apprised. I appreciate the feedback. Okay, so I am quite excited for my next guest. He is a content creator online making some snazzy videos about all sorts of different things. Video games, potentially Lego. I've seen him in a few Kevin Hinkle streams. He is, of course, Bricks O'Brien, otherwise known as Brian Saviano. How you doing?
I am doing as tremendously as one possibly can on this Saturday afternoon, August 31st, reporting from the North Shore of Boston, Massachusetts, going all the way to you in the great potato state and to the entirety of the internet. So it's going well.
Fantastic. For a moment, I was really impressed. It's like, all right, so this is I'm talking to Brian's robot counterpart. He is listing the facts of the situation, which is good. It's good to get a baseline. I won't deny.
Yes, exactly. We got to set the precedent for everyone else tuning in right now.
Exactly. So, but that is fantastic. I do have to ask, how is the weather?
You know, it's actually really nice outside. It is not too overwhelmingly hot. I have the luxury of being in my very nice air-conditioned office as I'm looking out onto the street below me, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's not too bad today. As a certified fat guy, being in the heat for long periods of time, I'll melt, and I can't have any of that. So luckily, it's not too bad today.
That is fantastic. That's really good to hear. It's getting hot. As it gets into the afternoon, it gets really, really hot, and I have a west-facing wall, so when the sun sets, it just cooks the darn thing. And of course, then it becomes an oven in here. So it's 93 degrees Fahrenheit outside for all of my European listeners. That is going to be 33 degrees Celsius. So it's nice and toasty, but...
Now, what's the temperature inside? Are you cooking inside?
Not yet. Right now it is 76 degrees Fahrenheit inside and out, and that's 24 Celsius. So it's reasonable. It's a little warmer than I like it. I'm more of a 60s kind of guy, not the 1960s, the 1660s. No.
You know, either way, I would have agreed and been like, oh, that sounds about right. The 1660s, the 1960s, any form of 60s sounds about right.
I don't know why the 1660s came to my mind. It's an easy number. Maybe it's because 6 was in my head, and it's just, all right, we're gonna go with that one.
It's probably just your past life kicking in, and it's like, oh hey, you got some baggage from back in the 1660s you got to solve. You know?
Yeah, no, maybe a murder.
Probably, I would have doubted.
Maybe my murder. Fudge.
Maybe.
Oh no.
This is a family-friendly show. Reporting in here.
Son of a biscuit! I'm sorry. No.
A little bit less murder. We're gonna continue on. So I'm very happy to be here, LJ. You said a brief rundown before we started the show. I think that anything goes, as I have been promoting this interaction here. So I'm very happy to be here. Very much looking forward to this discussion.
Oh yeah.
Of many things, not just Lego, of whatever. Whatever happens, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I've been super excited about this because I've known about you because of Kevin Hinkle and his streams. You've been on several of his streams, and I've seen Joey, of course. I've seen a few different messages and tweets and whatnot. So I've known about you, but we only actually got to meet like only 4 weeks ago at Brick Fair, Virginia.
Yes, and that has been something that I've looked forward to for a while because I've known of you in the Bionicle realm, the Lego realm, as a very vocal voice in the community,
Oh
and
yeah.
tuning into your program here and bits and pieces of other places I've seen you, I'm like, man, this guy actually knows how to do a podcast. This is pretty cool. So, like, as someone who likes to think he knows what he's doing, I really look forward to reaching out to you and being like, hey, we should do something at some point because you're good at this. So let's link up and chat a little bit here.
I like to think that over the 10 years of podcasting, I've at least gotten a little bit better. That's my hope. I don't know.
I heard that on another piece of content you did, and I'm like, he's been doing this 10 years. I've been doing this 10 years too. So we're kind of in the same boat. Since
Perfect.
I've been doing this in 7th grade, so I don't know how old you are, but that's how long I've been.
Oh, I'm 32. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
I was doing this since you were knee-high to a grasshopper.
Oh, jeez.
We had some big grasshoppers back in my day, so they were like... Shoo. Anyway.
Out by where you are, they must be rideable at that point.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I mean, they sustain themselves off of the potato crops because we have such nutrient-rich potatoes. They just go, all right, and then they're just huge. What can you do? Kill them, that's what. Regardless.
That's what it is.
So, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes, obviously.
Okay, nice Irish dinner. Meat and potatoes, I like it.
Precisely, although I usually like to have chicken with potatoes instead of like, corned beef, is it? Is corned beef the...
It's not a very good cut of beef. It's very fatty. I'm not that... I like a nice filet mignon or like a really good piece of chicken. I'm not about the corned beef, the roast beef. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm going to put a pin in what you just said right now about the filet mignon because I want to come back to that.
Sure, okay.
So just keep that in mind. First of all, go ahead, introduce yourself to anyone who may not be familiar with you. Tell everyone about how you got into making videos, how you got into doing podcasts, gaming content, and how you got into Lego and what you're doing now.
All right, so that would be like a 4-hour ordeal to explain all of that in itself. I don't think you understand how big of a question you actually asked, but I will try to go as best in order and summarize and tie it into a nice bow as I possibly can.
Hit me with it.
So my name is Brian Saviano, a.k.a. Bricks O'Brien. I am the self-proclaimed internet superstar, the #1 video game player of all time, beating everyone on the internet.
Very impressive.
Yeah, if you say it enough times, eventually it'll become true.
Fake it. So
I'm just saying it. So that's basically a microcosm of my whole shtick. I make sure when I do my videos, they are first and foremost entertaining, and the gameplay always seems to come not second, but I'm not particularly good at games unless I've played them for years at a time, and I just happen to know what I'm doing. I am not a professional player in any way, sense of the form. I am not a professional Lego builder in any capacity. I have played with Lego since I was a kid and have gotten into it by a bunch of different means, but that's its whole other section of explaining who I am. So I've been playing video games since I was a kid, obviously, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii, and that means there. And I started making videos initially 10 years ago in the 7th grade, making Nintendo videos, and I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty fun. And in 2009, YouTube is basically the Wild West. Anything goes. Live streaming was barely a thing. Podcasting was barely a thing. All of it was very brand new. So being my first video of a video game recording, it was Mario Super Sluggers on the Nintendo Wii. Can you max out the counter on the home run count past 99? And it turns out you can't. It won't keep track past 99. And that was my first video that I ever did. And then from that point on, I had refined my skills over the course of various YouTube channels and projects of mine, doing this with friends and just different means of learning new things in general, that I've refined my skill and become the type of guy that I am today. And everything from my day-to-day life is talked about in my videos, inside jokes that I have with like my friends, or whatever situations, basically whatever I have in my everyday life I can draw from is what I talk about in my videos. And that's where I have found my niche, and what people appreciate about me is through telling stories, and just basically as if you and me were hanging out on the couch discussing whatever. It's basically a podcast as I'm playing, but I'll be like, okay, I'm explaining a story, and then boom, I'll stop, explain the boss, go back to the story, and that's where it really that's where I have found my my success with that. People really appreciate that and really resonate with that, and making sure that people, when they are in the comment section, they reach out to me, they're in the live rooms whenever I live stream, that they feel incredibly welcome. And I'm incredibly thankful for the people that stop by. I do see a few of them in the chat, so thank you so much for stopping by and saying hello and supporting this episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show, and hopefully more going forward.
Oh, plenty more.
And yeah. And that's really it with video games. And I've been doing this on my own for a little over a year now, and it's been great. And people have seemed to really enjoy what I do, and I couldn't be more thankful for the people that support me and what I do. So that is where I'm at with games. Pertaining to Lego, I had gotten into Lego when I was a kid, and it was always that toy that I saw on TV and just grew toward, because it was very diverse with what you could do with it. You could do anything with it. And I always found myself going with the licensed figures and whatnot, because, Harry Potter's pretty cool. You got Star Wars characters that are pretty cool. I never really had the audacity, I guess, to go ahead and build something of my own and try to make something on a large scale that wasn't something more than a plane or a car or whatever. And this kind of continues until today, because I really need the pieces personally, and I need to be able to work with them physically in order to do what I want to do. So unless I have a complete idea of what I'm going to do before I go into it, then I'm not going to actually make it, because I'm like, well, I just need the pieces, and does it exist in this color? And it's one of those things that, a life lesson, I guess, is to play to your strengths and surround yourself with others whose strengths you can draw off of. So I can do one thing better than someone else. They can do a thing better than me. When I see people online building stuff, and when I go to Brick Fair, Virginia, and I see all these amazing creations, I'm like, I can't compete with this. I can't do this. I can talk to a camera for 4 hours straight, but I can't do this. So I just leave it to other people to do the amazing building, and hope that they make, Mario creations like I would really want them to, Pokemon and all of that. And that seems to happen more frequently, which is great. And I had that instilled in me since I was a kid, and I've experimented a little bit, but no mocks and massive scale creations like I wanted to, because I'd be $5,000 in the hole for what I want to make. So, and then it might not turn out right. Oh my God. So been a fan since I was a kid. I had worked for Lego brand retail for a number of years, knowing the product on that side of it, seeing how a store like that operates in retail sense, and as Lego. Met a lot of fantastic people through there that are some of my longest lasting friends and best friends, and incredibly grateful to have met those people there. Obviously, you may know me from working on the Brick Show for a number of years, massive part of my life. I did news videos, gameplay videos, and some reviews over on that channel. And most recently, I had been out on my own doing the whole gaming video thing. And yeah, I do make appearances here and there on like a Kevin Hinkle live stream, or whoever, whenever, just kind of saying hello, dipping my toes, getting to know a bit more of the community. Because I had known a lot of people through the Brick Show, interacting with them in the comments and whatnot. And, so there was that in itself there. But now that I'm on my own, I can really make a name for myself and set, let people know who I am, and just make connections as I can. And this connection right here with you, LJ, is one of the ones that I was very much looking forward to, very happy about. So that is a very brief synopsis. It's going to go very in depth, I'm sure, from there.
Oh yeah.
But you are in charge of this ship, sir. I have been welcome aboard. You can steer it wherever you want to, man.
Aye, and I must say that iceberg over there is looking mighty fine for landing on. So no. So full disclosure, I did not know you were part of the Brick Show. I was
really
not at all. Literally not at all.
That is a massive part of me. Okay.
I only know you for what you have done independently.
You know what? I'm not mad about that. That's totally fine by me.
Yeah, no,
that's fine by me.
It's like I know how that goes too, because like I'm part of another YouTube group. I'm part of the TTV channel, and I've been doing that for the better part of a decade. And so a lot of people know me from there, obviously. But it's always like it's always interesting to meet the people that know you from what you do independent of your group. Right. So obviously enough, I do this. People that know this might not know TTV, and that's cool. But yeah, no, I had no idea. I very, very, very briefly interacted with, I think, someone who managed the Brick Show.
It would be Steven or Jason are the main two guys.
Yeah, I think it was Jason. It was around the time the channel went down.
Sure.
But regardless, I definitely want to talk more about that. To summarize, really super summarize what your channel is currently. It's friendly, casual, comfortable gameplay with an audience. Would that be a good summary?
You should put that phrase. Can you type that up in Discord, and then I can put that on the back of my business card, because you just summarized it like perfectly.
Beautiful.
That I hadn't even thought of that. So I'm trying to think like, all right, well, I am family friendly, but I feel like family friendly implies that I'm censoring myself or pandering to kids, which it's not. Mm-hmm. I always make a very conscious effort to never talk down to a lot of my audience, which is very young, like very, very, very young. And I never say, "Oh, hey kids, it's your boy Brickful Brian. Come in." Like I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
There's no cheesy card unboxings, and I don't do any of that. It's very respectful to kids, and then a lot of parents appreciate that, which is why that they reinforce the kids watching, which is great. I can be as good of an influence as I can. So I would say yes, it is family friendly, casual gaming. I do live streams. I live stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. And then to I guess appease the massive crowds who want to join me in on Fortnite Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fortnite Fridays, that's a great name.
You know what? That's branding, baby. That's what it's all about. So I invite anyone in the live room to join in, first come, first serve basis, play Fortnite with me for about 2 hours or so. And that's usually how long the live streams last, because when I'm talking just like this. There's no long pauses. There's no like it's very on point constantly. Yeah. So I try to make it as very interactive as possible, and the audience loves that. So many people comment. We have great conversations about what's happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Does Brian finally have a girlfriend? The answer is always no. But they talk about that in the chat, and it's totally fair game. It's totally fair game. Anything goes, and that's the precedent I set, is that right there. So that's a very brief summary of that.
That's outstanding. No, that's excellent. Something you said very briefly there about having long run-on sentences with very few of the filler. Very few of the... I relate highly with that. Because obviously it's important for podcasting, it's important for having an online presence where you're talking predominantly. Like a lot of people on YouTube, they'll have videos of themselves talking. And I've done this, you chop it up, you cut it up. Because that's
of course
the magic of... That's movie magic, baby! But when it's your voice and you're doing something like a live stream where you're needing to talk consistently, constantly... It's important to be clear, concise, and constantly moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that with a lot of people that they will have those long pauses, or they try to get their thoughts together or whatever. And the way that I do it is I have somehow over the course of 10 years refined my ability to just let my stream of consciousness flow. And I'm sure that you felt this too, because you do what you do and you're good at it. Like, you just, like, right now I have no idea what I'm actually saying. I'm just letting it go. And then always afterward, people are like, remember you said this thing in your Breath of the Wild video? I'm like, no idea what you're talking about. And that's like part of being good at this sort of thing, and making sure, first and foremost, it's entertaining. If someone's watching your video and they're skipping through it or whatever, then it's not entertaining. It's not catching your attention. You got to make sure that it's a conversation, and you can't have one person pulling more than the other. It's got to be a good balance, and it's a very, very delicate thing that some people are inherently good at, some people not as much, and they can get better at it. But I totally agree though.
Yeah, and it's quite important nowadays, especially with how many people are getting into YouTube and getting into creative content and entertainment. Oh gosh, I had a thought. See, that's the difference. You have very quick-witted, ongoing sentences where you said you kind of just go with the flow, kind of mentally just go with the flow.
Yes.
A lot of the times what I'll do in opposition to that is I will think what I'm going to say very quickly, which is why it's important to have a little bit of a larger vocabulary that you can kind of pick and choose from. All right, this word works, and just kind of think very quickly off the top of your head, because that's what I will generally do. I'll just think very, very, very fast about what I want to say, and then say it, and then think, was that a good idea or not? Usually not.
Right.
But both methods are really good. It's just important to be engaging. Somewhere along the line, I heard someone say that you need to have a hook. You need to engage your audience every 30 seconds if you have a video, a particular video, like a structured, edited video, not a live stream, like a review. Like every 30 seconds, you have to be engaging with them and making sure that they are not necessarily a part of the video, but they are engaged with the video so that they don't go, all right, skip. All right, bye.
Right. It depends on what you want to do for your type of content, because a lot of Twitch streamers are more, I would say, a passive form of entertainment. It's the equivalent of you going to Amazon Prime or Netflix and tossing on some random thing and letting it play in the background. Like, that's what I feel like a lot of those people end up becoming, because they're not constantly engaging in the chat or prioritizing people who want to get involved. And that's one way of going about doing it. I have learned to just keep talking, and that's like a life lesson I've learned, and sometimes it bites me in the butt, but that's where, and everyone has their different amounts of success. If you're making a cohesive piece of content, then you want to constantly be talking and engaging and whatnot. Some people, and I don't know how they do this, people will live stream for 24 hours straight or 9 hours straight. And I'm like, dude, how can you possibly make this piece of content entertaining for 9 hours straight? Single-handedly. There are so many people who do that. And then, okay, you're live streaming for 24 hours. You're putting a full 24 hours worth of effort into your piece of content. And then they're just sitting there and they don't say anything for like a couple minutes at a time. Well, then, like, why are do you want to just broadcast your life, or like, what do you want? Like, what's the goal here? And that's why I keep my live streams to 2 hours ish or less, because it's always this. And, obviously I'd love to live stream for 9 hours at a time, but if I do that, then I'll never be able to talk for the rest of my life. The one time I did a live stream for a longer period of time was when I played Super Mario Maker 2 for a charity event that I ran myself on 2 months ago, almost to the day. I played Mario Maker for, I want to say, 5 hours. And then I played Fortnite for an hour and a half. So it was like an hour and a half or 5.5 hours straight of like a podcast like this, just me.
Goodness. Ouch.
Yep. And my vocal cords hurt a ton, but we raised a ton of money. And I'm like, I'll do it every day if that's what it means. So it depends. Doing it every day, I don't know how people do it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Now, over time, I feel like people do develop some sort of a kind of a resistance to the fatigue that comes with talking for long periods of time. Like, I do a lot of screaming. I do a lot of yelling. I do a lot of talking. Day to day, I do a lot of talking. And over time, I just have become accustomed to these things. Talking and being energetic and screaming and all of those things. It just, you build up to it. And it just becomes a part of your natural day to day after doing it for so long. So.
Yeah, absolutely. My whole thing is I don't get to that. Like, I don't know. Like, my natural energy is very like this. It's very... more calm, I guess.
Calming.
I have my moments I have my moments where I'm like, wah! and I go off the deep end. But those are they're more rare. But when they do happen, they're very justified. It's not like whenever I do my videos, it's never an act. It's never a situation like that. It's always very genuine. So like if something amazes me in the game, I'm like, are you kidding? No, come on, really? And then I'll be like, okay. Yeah, this is a load of garbage, but this is I'm very consistent with that way. I'm not going to be screaming and yelling the entire time, and that would exhaust even you or I too if we were trying to
easily. Yeah, there are some channels that are just entirely centered around that. It's just screaming and yelling. It's like screaming and yelling can be very funny if it is done appropriately. Not appropriately as in if it's done per this criteria, but if it's done in a situation where it's expected and it's almost understandable, like it's like you were saying, if you're reacting to something in a game, if something happens, then a reaction is anticipated, it's expected. And heck, even if you want, you can just throw a curveball in there every once in a while. Something happens, you've done all these reactions, something happens, like yeah, all right,
exactly. And that's what I found why a lot of parents appreciate their kids watching my videos, and they're not like, all right, can you turn that nonsense off? Because I'm not screaming. I'm talking to the audience as if they were one of my best friends. So it's not like this obnoxious, overly loud dude, this obnoxious YouTuber that's just screaming for the sake of screaming to keep your attention. Like you got to, and I'll tell you this story. I've told it before. I talk like this in my videos, and I've always been curious if kids, because my audience, again, is very, like, super young. Like, I always wondered, do kids actually pay attention to what I'm saying? And I had no real grasp, because a lot of people weren't commenting and reaching out to me at the time. And I said, like, there's a lot of moments in my videos. And one of the moments was like, oh, I should have the Staples Easy button to, like, say, oh, that was an easy moment in a game, an unexpectedly easy moment. So I went to E3, the video game convention, in 2017, and it was like a 6.5 hour flight. I came home, and I had this package from Amazon. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I'm walking through my house, and I hear like, that was easy. I'm like, what the hell coming from the package? Like, what was that? And so I open it up, and it's the Staples Easy button that a fan had sent me to my house. I never asked anyone to send it to me, but this young kid, Cooper, was like, I think 5 years old, who was like, we got to send him the easy button. And I have it right here, and I use it.
That was easy.
I use it in all my videos, and this is my thing, and people really like it. And I was amazed that someone actually paid attention and thought of me in that way to send that to me. And it meant so much to me after that long trip and all that. Like, oh, man, it hit me so hard. And, like, it's amazing. So you got to make sure that you have an idea of what you're saying, and people will listen regardless of what type of voice you have, even if you're talking not crazily loud or whatever. So.
Goodness, that's fantastic. That's such a nice story. That's just really, that's just nice.
Yeah, right? it makes my heart warm, dude. Like
Yeah.
my cold, barren heart is warm for a couple more seconds. Otherwise, it's great. It's really great.
It'll keep you warm in the upcoming winter. But that's wonderful. Okay, so that's the video content. I'm sure we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna come back around and discuss more of that because obviously we both make videos.
Yes, I would like to think we do.
Yeah, I do on occasion.
It's a hobby. It's a hobby-ish.
Definitely. Oh yeah. No, I remember times of doing it as though it were a career or a job, and not fun.
What a far-fetched idea.
Not for some, but more often than not in the Lego community, which is a good segue into our next conversation. Lego.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
So, you said you got into Lego, generally like most other people, when you were young, when you were a kid, got into it. Where do you stand in regards to Lego right now? What are your thoughts on it? What was your first set, your first big introduction, and how has it kind of shaped what you do online, how you interact with people, and who you interact going forward?
All right, so I have a rough idea of what was my first actual set, but then I have a set that is my quintessential for, like, maybe that's not the right word, but like I would write it down on paper as my first set.
Okay.
So I was like 4 years old, Christmas Day. It's a stocking stuffer, and I open it up. What do you know it, LJ? Jack Stone, one of my first Lego sets I had ever had.
No.
And you know what? You know what? Not that bad. Not that bad. It's whatever. It's whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Because it had the button you press to go on the that piece.
I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with Jack Stone.
There is a piece like the bodies of the car were super big, so you could put a ton of stuff on them. The wheels were huge, and then you could like on like the fire engine or like the ambulance or something, you could press it and it would make sounds like that. Like it was cool, and it was that. Now the first that I will admit to and take pride in was my first one was it was Alpha Team. It had a custom gray base plate, one of the the custom printed the whatever. It was like Ogle's Fortress. It's like a rocket ship with a big skull on it. I don't know the name of it.
Here, let me go ahead and throw this picture to you in Discord.
Yeah, it's one? Very easy to identify. Let me see. No, not that one. It's black and red. It's black and red, and the custom base plate, it's mostly dark gray, and it has a small river going through the right side of it. Okay. Like a base. It
is the later one, right? The 2004 iteration of Alpha Team?
No, let me see. Let me look with you on Alpha Team. No, it's Alpha Team when it had the red and yellow branding. So it's not the ice branding.
Okay, so it's not the ice.
Correct. It should be on like a page 2 of the brick set.
Okay, page 2.
Yeah, Ogle Control Center 6776. That one. That is my first, like, the big set that I got was that one right there.
Ogle. I'm gonna look this.
And that's a pretty good one.
There we go.
It's a pretty good set, And that's one of the sets that I want to purchase. Someone had it at Brick Fair, Virginia, and it's like, this is $260 sealed. I'm like, get out of my face. I want it open. I don't care about it sealed. I just want it, Yeah. So I haven't found it on eBay for a price that I'm like, all right, whatever, and get it. But that was a good one. Another one of my favorite sets, a very defining one for me, was I'm on a roll with these quote-unquote bad Lego themes, is the Knights Kingdom 2 Castle of Morcia, that switches between being blue and red for the lions and the scorpions. I have it behind me. It's sealed. I got it between trading a bunch of stuff at Brick World Chicago and paying a little bit of money for it. And that's a really good set, in my opinion. And those are the only two that had like the big base plates that were custom molded for it and that I liked. So those were the two defining ones for me. And obviously things have come along since then. I would say, if you ask me what my favorite set of all time is, the Metal Beard Sea Cow, which is I would say, objectively good set. But there's that. I love the Hogwarts Castle. It's another great one. Joker Manor is fantastic. In terms of growing up, I can confirm, partake in Bionicle.
Oh,
Very.
okay. Good.
I've had. Listen, Bionicle is what it is, and we'll get into that, of course.
Oh,
but
yes, most certainly.
Bionicle was a part of all of our childhoods in one way or another. I had mad respect for the Bionicle that come out at the time. My favorite. Well, we'll save the Bionicle talk. That'll be its own segment.
Okay.
With
fair
the Lego,
enough.
with the Lego itself. Being in the retail space, you obviously have access to more things that you can get, and your bar for what you wouldn't normally get is different once you have a employee discount you can take advantage of. So then I'm like, I'll just get this thing and that thing and this and this and this and this and that. So I have a bunch of stuff, but as of recent, and I think I had heard you talking about this in one of your previous episodes here, the hidden side stuff is stellar.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely stellar. Love the bus. That's my favorite of
Agreed.
the wave. And then the high school is second.
Okay, so I've not interacted with the high school. The closest I've come to interacting with it would be actually yesterday on Kevin Hinkle's Backlog Building stream, where Joey was building it. And so that is the extent of my interaction. But the bus, I have the bus. The bus is exquisite. It's awesome.
Yeah, the high school, the play features in that are incredible. And when you have the high school and bus combination, it's stellar. It's just a stellar line. And I think Lego has always needed to have a spooky line because Halloween isn't as tied to a specific religious holiday as a Christmas or, Thanksgiving is a very American thing, not an international thing. So, it's just spooky characters. Cool. That's pretty general. So you just keep making a bunch of stuff like that. I think that's why the minifigure series did so well. Monster Fighters was a hit. I think this is going to be a hit too. And with the hidden side stuff specifically, I love that the prices of the sets are not inflated because of the app development. So with the high school being, I think, 130, it's got 1,400, close to 1,500 pieces. If they implemented like, okay, we're going to charge a little bit more app compatibility and whatnot, they could have easily charged like 150 to 170 for something like that. But no, even if you never open the app once in your life, that's a pretty baller looking set. That's really cool. So that in itself is great. I forget so when you do these shows, do you have like a list of questions or do you like just ask the same questions? Because I lost track of what else you just asked.
It varies. It heavily varies per guest. And there's a reason I'm not interrupting you. I like to let guests kind of talk and go on and explain and just have a good time talking. Because that way, conversations happen. I can listen. I can pick things out that we can discuss. So it really does vary. There are a few set questions, which, of course, would be the weather. Have you seen what do you think of The Last Jedi? Have you tried mangosteen? Stuff like that. Well, trust me. I'm going to ask you that in a moment.
Sure.
But for this... Oh, yes.
I talk constantly, so I was actually going to talk to you about this before I realized I was having audio issues with my microphone and we couldn't talk about it. That I talk all the time. So I would rather this be like a discussion. If you want to interrupt me, please go ahead.
Fair enough.
Like I will go on tangents and talk and I won't shut up. But just whenever you're like, just do it.
Just say that.
Full permission.
That's perfectly fine with me. I'm surrounded by a lot of people that don't talk enough, so I'm perfectly fine with the discussion. Which is
why I think it's going to go on for a long while, too. This is going to be a good podcast episode.
Exactly. That is the goal. Dang it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There is a question I did have, very briefly.
Okay.
Specifically about the Jack Stone set you mentioned. Which one was it?
Sure.
Was it the fire truck? The fire response SUV?
I couldn't even tell you, dude. I will look it up myself and try to. I got it on Brickset here.
Okay,
wait, hold on. Oh, so I remember seeing the Fire Cruiser. Okay, so that is 4601. I remember that one. I think I had 4600 as well, the Police Cruiser. And then the one, yes, it's the Fire Response SUV.
Okay.
That's the one that makes the noise and stuff. I remember picking those up, like conning my mom into picking them up for me at like a Marshall's or something when they were on sale. So one of those was a stocking stuffer, and then the rest of them, I had just got them for the heck of it. But I got everything back. I was spoiled rotten. I'm an only child, and no other. It was another 9 years until another grandkid popped around. So it's like, all right, here I get all the presents. So I got like a bunch of Harry Potter stuff, Star Wars. It varies. You would have to bring up a specific set and be like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, oh, that's dumb, or that's great, or what,
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I just want to get that so I had the specific set on screen, because I like to put the pictures up and let people know what we're talking about. So, fair enough. So, when it comes to LEGO themes, do you generally find yourself gravitating more toward... Is there a specific theme that you gravitate toward? Is it licensed? Is it action themes, like story themes, like Hidden Side or Ninjago, for example? Or are you more into city, creator, kind of that thing?
So, I entered my dark age / I don't have the money for this / I have friends now. I never need Lego, and you again my YouTube account and forget about that. And then that's a whole phase I'll touch on later. Okay. That happened right as Ninjago was happening. So I left, and then I came back, and all the 10-year-olds were like, Ninjago, whoa! And I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. So I never got into it. And I saw the movie, and the movie sets, a lot of them are really, really, actually, I would almost say all of them are fantastic. So I never got into Ninjago, the show, and even the movie is what it is. We can even talk about that later. We can talk about so many things, LJ. We can talk about all the things. This is going to be great.
Let's not talk about the movie, please.
Okay.
I want to go back.
Okay. So as of recent years, I have found myself buying a lot of the Marvel sets, and I collect all of the Marvel movie set minifigures. And the reason I do that is because obviously I love the MCU, and I don't collect everything Marvel because I would get sets like, let's say like the Red Hulk Escape with like the 2 buggies and stuff, and I'm like, I don't care about Red Hulk. Why am I buying this? And then I'm like, all right, it's just MCU figures, and that really narrows it in and is contained in terms of buying stuff throughout the year. So I'm not buying, $500 worth of City in the spring and $600 worth in the fall or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like once a year you get a big wave of stuff, and then a couple trickle, and then that's it. So that, and something I don't see discussed enough, I don't know why this is, either because there's not many fans of it within the Lego realm that I hear buzz about it, but the Lego Harry Potter sets for the most recent release are some of the most appropriately priced, minifigure packed, amazing pieces in there of sets that I have seen in a very long time. And if you are a fan of Harry Potter, every single set is a home run. Bang, 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 home run. It's you can't compare, because with the Marvel sets in the MCU, a lot of the sets are either locations or vehicles that don't matter, and you're like, all right, I just want it for the figures. But in Harry Potter, you have all these different locations and figures that matter, and they're integral to the scenes from the movies and the books, so it makes sense. Like the $100 Marvel set for Avengers Endgame, like the compound, you really care about the compound, or you just want Thanos and Hulk and all? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even with sets like that, based off the MCU, they're just oddly inaccurate. Often.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, this is because of the development process. This is because they usually don't have access to all of the story details or the context, so they kind of just need to look at things and guess. That's totally understandable. That's how we got that monstrosity, the Mandarin's flamethrower buggy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That thing's beautiful. But with Harry Potter, obviously, the movies are all out. The books have been out for years, so they have a lot of source material to pull from. I'm surrounded by a lot of Harry Potter fans. I'm not a fan myself. I've seen the movies. Not to say I dislike it, but it never gripped me like a lot of people I know. And everyone who is a fan of Harry Potter has said these sets are outstanding. They look great. Yeah. And the few that people have gotten that I know say that they're great. They're really good builds. It
totally helps that they have been out for a while, all the books and movies and the source material. The only thing that isn't is Fantastic Beasts, which is what they're adding on to and developing now. But and that's a big part of the Lego process, is trying to basically predict what these movies are going to do 2 years before they actually do them, and who knows what changes. So it's not their fault as creators and as a company. They're working with a bad hand in poker, making the best of it. But when it comes to actually releasing it, you're like, oh, well, this doesn't make any sense. Jeez. Okay. And then, you have like the Iron Man versus Mandarin Ultimate Showdown. But how many of those sets were you buying because of the build or because of the figures? If you wanted a cheap Iron Man and Mandarin, boom, $13, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think a lot of people saw the value in, especially kids who just want minifigures, which most of them anyways, for licensed figures at least. It's a cheap way to get Iron Man. So
exactly. And I feel like to a degree Lego knows about that. At least they would have to.
Yeah, totally.
And so minifigures are put in specific instances. I mean, obviously they're familiar with minifigures having value to people. That's why there are SDCC exclusives or NYCC exclusives. They're minifigures that people are seeking. So it makes perfect sense. But no,
that's even something we could get into later with the exclusivity things and all that. There's so many topics.
Oh, yeah. Trust. I don't know if we'll get to all of them today, but I'm going to have you back so that we can.
Cool.
But for now, we're still going. So, but that's fair. That's all fair enough. Harry Potter, obviously, like you said, the sets are, they're well done. Not only are the actual sets well done, you're right, they are chock full of minifigures, and that's really excellent. So I'm happy to see that, at least for people that are big fans of the franchise.
For sure.
So I think it's time. It's time, Brian.
Uh-oh.
It's time we got down to brass taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they different from steel tax? Oh, wait, no, sorry.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Obviously enough, I have a pretty strong Bionicle background. I have been involved in it for 14 years, as of tomorrow, actually. Well, 14 years in the community. So tomorrow is actually my 14-year anniversary of joining the online community in any capacity. And that was on BZ Power, which was the premier Bionicle fan website. I've been involved with it since late 2002, early 2003. Yeah. So obviously enough, I'm well versed in it. I own literally every single Bionicle set ever released. I know a lot. I'm a big Bionicle fan. I think that's fairly evident. Tell me, in your honest opinion, your stance on Bionicle and constraction as a whole.
Okay. So I had been a Bionicle fan years ago, and because I was always a fan of the aspect of a playable toy that was bigger than a Lego minifigure that more properly fit in my hands, and especially as I got a little bit older, it was an action figure for not being an action figure. Like some people played with wrestling dolls or action figures, and then whatever, and then Bionicle was it for me because it's Lego. And some people I would say it's not Lego, and I was saying actually to Kevin before I had popped on here that I will play the devil's advocate for it not being Lego, but I do say it is Lego and is totally valid because, Lego made it. And you can combine it with regular system bricks. So to disqualify it as anything less than Lego is wrong. Now, with Bionicle I have seen on my timeline, I think literally on Twitter, literally just from following Maniac for Bricks, like 4 Bionicle posts a day. And I'm like, dude, there is no way this theme is this popular right now. And I'm like, what are these people talking about? And I'm going through the timelines and I'm trying to source it back. And I'm like, why are people so obsessed with this dead Lego theme? What is the issue? Can we move on? So I came from it from that perspective, and I know I would hate if I were a fan of something that the company that created it no longer made the product, had no intention of bringing the product back, and canceled it, and then canceled it again. Oh, yeah. And that would just poke all the holes in my desire to keep with it or whatever. The only thing I can compare it to for something I love that isn't currently being recognized by the company that made it is I am a massive fan of a game called Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door on the GameCube. And a lot of people that maybe are watching from my audience would know that. And Nintendo refuses to make a Paper Mario game in the same vein as that game right there. And everyone wants to go back to it, and that's what people want, but Nintendo refuses to. And with that game specifically, I know it's a great game, just like BioNICLE is a great theme. I have the not foresight, but the ability to understand that this is a relatively obscure game. This is a game that is not of the same caliber as Super Mario Odyssey, a multi-million unit sales game, a Breath of the Wild. It will never be anywhere near that point, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't get its time in the light of day, etc. So the thing is, with a lot of the BIONICLE fans, I feel like that they are very dedicated to this thing and the system to build with it when there's no new developments, there's no new parts, and it's like you got nothing. Like if that's all you build with, if that's it, then you have nothing else to grab on. That would be exhausting. I would be so disheartened. And it was actually when I was with Joey at Chick-fil-A with our mutual friend Arizona Dan talking, and he had said something casually as we were talking about like BIONICLE and Lego in general, and it blew my mind the second I heard it, and I'm like, I get it. And now I get it. I get why people are like this. It was him saying that in terms of there being a story, characters that people like, environments that people like, sets that people like, and it being elemental heroes, that Ninjago is the modern day BIONICLE.
Yes.
In that sense.
Accurate.
And I had never, ever for a second put that together.
Yep.
And that totally explains why I don't understand it, because I jumped the Ninjago train entirely. I know nothing.
Yep.
So when I heard that, I'm like, the light bulb, like the big brain moment, the nuclear bomb went off. I'm like, whoa, I get it now. Okay. Yeah. I get why I don't get it, because I never got into it in that way. So it's not that I hate BIONICLE. It's I wish that a lot of the creative energy that was put into some of the creators who make awesome BIONICLE things, I can only imagine what that energy, what those pieces and whatnot would do if they were using more modern elements and things that were going to get the support and recognition that they deserve, because a lot of these creations that I saw at Brick Fair were absolutely stellar, but being in BIONICLE specifically, I feel like you're working with a finite resource. There are BIONICLE fans who were fans way back when they were a kid, and now they're our age, and they're getting back into it just because people who were fans of the 2015 series, which was I guess Garbo from what
I can shed some light on that, let me tell you.
Okay. And then you have your energy, but you're not using
it could be repurposed into more. Oh, gosh, I know what you're trying to say, but yeah. The wording gosh, what's the best way to phrase it?
Like, it's not a waste of their time working with BIONICLE, but like, man, if you put those courses like of the more modern pieces and techniques that Lego has in general, dude, they'd make stellar stuff.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you're getting at. I don't know how to properly phrase it or word it necessarily, but I get what you're saying. If they weren't stuck in the past, stuck with constraction, with these large, bulky, specialized parts, and moved on into more modern, newer parts and so on, then the sky's the limit. The bar could be raised so highly. I think that it's super fascinating. Obviously, I still spend a lot of time in the Bionicle community. I see a lot of creations, a lot of the mockists, and so on. And it never ceases to amaze me how people are able to utilize all of these specific parts, all the specialized pieces, all the constraction pieces, all the Bionicle pieces in new and exciting ways. To me, it just feels like an extension of working within constraint. So you have a piece that you want to use somehow for something, and it's something that I hear from mockists so often. There's no piece that can't be used, ever. And this was proven to me very recently. So I have a friend of mine, Nick Voss, and he made a mock. He made a mock of me, of my caricature, my Bionicle character. And on this show, with another guest, I had mentioned there's, can you use every piece creatively in some way, shape, or form? There's one piece, one Lego piece that came out in roughly two construction sets. One of the last few waves of construction sets. And it was this thing that sits on the neck. And when I say sits on the neck, I mean it literally. It has no connections. It has no connection point at all. It just sits. It sits on two other pieces. And I said, well, I don't know if you can really use this. And so at Brickford, Virginia, my friend Nick brings this mock, and he points out, if you look right here, what do you see? And lo and freaking behold, it's the piece. It's the piece I thought you couldn't use outside of the specific instance it was used in the set, and it was being used in a new and creative way. And so I always look at people using constraction as just them kind of just sharpening the knife of their skills, and becoming acquainted with a building system and learning all of these techniques that can be applied to general system, and just improving and working within those constraints and practicing. It's like, oh gosh, was it Bruce Lee's quote? It's someone's quote. It's like, I don't fear the man who can do 1,000 different kicks, who practices 1,000 different kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just refining that ability to work within the constraint of your limitations. But of course, that's from my biased perspective.
Right. And I absolutely get that.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate that, because working in a creative mindset in general, your own mind can be a restriction to start, but then to actually have a physical thing that you need to work with, or as a challenge. Okay, I'm going to use this piece to, try to make this thing work. And then he successfully did, is awesome. It's very, very cool. I was coming at it more from the side of like, all right, I'm not like, when you think about it, yeah, like I get it. Like, it's just some things you're like, let me see if I can word this properly. Like, you just see a bunch of ravenous, like, 20-year-old guys raving over Bionicle, and I'm like, why are you guys talking about this? Like, what's the, like, just from that very base level, like, that's where I was just in not shocked, but just like, why?
Kind of dumbfounded, almost a little perplexed.
Yeah, a little bit. And then, like, Kevin kept touting about Brick Fair, like, this is the largest gathering of construction builders. And I'm like, yeah. Great, cool. And I wanted to get an appreciation for what people were building. So I went around on a live stream that I did, and I toured from Brick Fair the entirety of the Bionicle tables, all of them. Like, every single creation I would at least show a little bit of. Mm-hmm. And to see some of the stuff that people were making that weren't, like, basically, a lot of them were, I don't want to say samey looking, but, like, it looks like a
humanoids, standard bipedal, human-looking characters.
Totally. But then you got, like, some guy made, like, Santa Claus, and this guy made a giant centipede. This is the Headless Horseman with the horse. It's like, whoa, this is pretty dope. So when you're working within those restrictions, that's pretty cool. But then when would it...
When does it run out?
When does it run out? And then when would someone who has that level of creative ability apply that to something that can be beneficial to them in terms of, like, a real-life context, or into Lego model building specifically, I'm unfamiliar, so it's more so. This is how I felt with Bionicle in general. I just wanted to educate myself and not come off as like, oh, Bionicle's stupid. Like, I don't want to be that guy. But as an outsider, I'm like, I don't get this. So, what are you guys and girls doing that is like, what else? What is the outcome of this skill other than it just being a thing? Like, I mean, and not that they need to, but I don't know. Like,
you're wondering where it goes, where it leads.
Yeah, sure.
I get that. Nowadays, we're often seeing a lot of crossover, a lot of bridging the gap between system and construction, because a lot of mockists, a lot of prolific, proficient mockists, are taking system, they're melding it with construction. We've even seen this in a variety of LEGO sets recently with a lot of the mechs. Obviously, most notably, we've seen some construction pieces appearing in Ninjago City from 2017 as a tree, which is freaking awesome.
I still gotta build that, dude. It's so cool.
Wait, you have it, but you haven't built it?
No, I don't have it.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't have it because I always said to myself, the only way I'm gonna get any of them is I'm gonna get the Ninjago City, the docks, and the boat all in the same transaction. And if I can't do that in one transaction, I'm not gonna.
Ooh.
Just because, like, it's a lot of that's just the way I phrased it in my own mind. It's either all or nothing. So right now it's nothing.
That's fair. All right, no, I can get that. But yeah, so when it comes to construction, for the record, everyone, this is the piece I'm talking about. This is a piece that showed up in Han Solo and Darth Maul as far as the construction.
It looks like a hood. Or a collar.
It always kind of looks... It is supposed to be a collar. It's a collar piece. But to me, it always kind of looked like a toilet lid.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
And it has no connection.
It's a toilet lid covered in something, judging by that color, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not well taken care of.
No, not at all.
So when it comes to construction and construction builders, there is a lot of crossover. A lot of people will use system to augment construction, and in some instances, vice versa. And so it's always really interesting to see that kind of evolve, kind of progress. As far as the attraction to Bionicle, it's kind of funny looking back on it. Like, when it was coming out, when I was involved in it, like, late 02, early 03, and onward, I always knew, kinda, that it was popular. Like, it had the movie coming out. I knew some people, I knew some fellow kids, hello, fellow kids, that knew it. They were interested in it to some extent. So I knew it was well known. But it wasn't until a book called Brick by Brick came out, and I read it, that it really illustrated exactly how much of a phenomenon it was. Like, nowadays, Ninjago is bigger than any LEGO line possibly ever. Possibly. I don't want to say that too loosely, but it is massive. It's an understatement to say how large of a theme Ninjago is right now.
Okay.
It is sweeping the globe. It is a big, big, big theme. Bigger than Bionicle ever was. And Bionicle was large.
100%.
Yeah, Bionicle was a huge, huge theme. It grossed hundreds of millions of dollars. I think 176 million at some point. And I know it grossed... Either that was the amount that it grossed, or that was the amount of items, of sets that it sold. It had at one point a comic circulation greater globally than Batman and Superman.
Wow.
At Bionicle's height. It obviously had many, many novels, like over 20 different novels that were several of which hit New York bestsellers list. At least one of them. Oh goodness, which one was it? Was it Bionicle Adventures 1 Mystery Match New? It released in 2004, and it hit the New York bestsellers list. And so then you have the 4 different films. The first LEGO movie, proper movie, was a Bionicle movie. It saved the company from pure and utter bankruptcy when it was going through hard times. Like, it was the only property in 2003 that was turning over a profit. It was a financial anchor when LEGO had literally nothing else, because Harry Potter and Star Wars didn't have a movie in 03. And LEGO was still trying to recover from some awful financial decisions and business dealings how they operated from the late 1990s. And so Bionicle is this massive theme, but what really attracts people to it, and what keeps people talking about it, is that it has such a rich mythos. There is so much to it. It's just so dense with characters, with locations. The first 3 years alone are an amazing sandbox of possibilities. You have a location which is fleshed out. You have characters in a location. You have a hierarchy. You have a social structure. You have events that take place, but you have a lot of time and a lot of land and a lot of location of which to allow fans to fill in the gaps, to make their own stories and to kind of do whatever they want with that world. And it only got larger and larger, and you had more possibilities and more of an expanse. And it's so large that 10 years after it was canceled, people are still engaged. They're still interested in it. They're still making their own stories, their own creations. They're putting themselves in creations. They're trying to continue the feeling of exploration, the feeling of mythos, the feeling of, well, just general mystery that was in a lot of the Bionicle years. And that's what really attracted people to the line to begin with, and why it got so large, and why it still has a lot of staying power, because it was something easily, lightning in a bottle, is something Lego has not done to that same extent since, in the way it was done. However, Ninjago is absolutely its spiritual successor, and it has surpassed Bionicle in a myriad of different ways, and it's done a great job doing it.
Now, I 100% see exactly everything you had said and the lead up to it, and I think it has to do with just who I am as a human being, because as much as people love Paper Mario like I do and whatnot, people love it more than me, and people will create like more of a mythos and want to get into the world more than what Nintendo has already done. So I get that, but I don't go to that extent personally. Mm-hmm. I take it for what it is and leave it at that and appreciate it for what it is. And I don't, I'm not on the like a Paper Mario forum or website constantly looking for things like that to enhance and enrich that aspect of me, because that's just not who I am, I mm-hmm. guess. So it was with Bionicle. I knew growing up, like, it was obviously the big thing, and I did have comic books. I did watch the movies and have the the Bionicle books that I'd get from the Scholastic Book Fair. Absolutely, I'm in that same boat. And I had a thought. Did it escape me? No, it didn't. So Bionicle, I had come to the conclusion that it is very much so a product of its time, in the sense that I think back to the Bionicle commercial, you'll be able to tell immediately because I have no idea. It was with the song Move Along. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that vibe, that like early 2000s, like an I ain't gonna keep it, like that vibe right there, that doesn't apply in 2019. That, like, I think of like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, All-American Rejects, like Graffiti in the Night in the City, like just like this certain like energy that I get from it in my own head, and that's just not what it is anymore. So that's why when Bionicle came out in 2015, it didn't have the same. Was it 2015?
It was 2015. Right? Yeah, you're right.
It came out and it didn't have that same spirit that the alt show did, and I don't know if constraction like that can exist in 2019 because in 2020, because I have on my desk right now, I'm holding it in my hand, is the First Order Stormtrooper constraction figure.
I'm sorry.
But hey, listen, this guy, I think, is really cool. Now, I think he's cool because whenever you're doing a humanoid face in constraction, man, they look awful. Oh, yeah. They look like hot garbage.
Oh, yeah.
But the Kylo Rens, the First Order Storm, a bigger figure than a minifigure, I don't know if it's a construction figure, and I think we've seen stuff like that in the form of almost the Hulkbuster. It's more of a figure sort of deal. But then you also have in the Civil War airport battle from Captain America Civil War, you have Giant Man, which is this bigger built Lego minifigure character. You have the Lego employee gift that was Santa Claus with the reindeer and the sleigh. Like there's bigger figures that are out there that I think would work better as a product to the mass market, but I don't know if Bionicle could work in the future. And I still hold up like, yeah, you're using these unique building techniques to make these, mocks and creations work and whatnot. And obviously, yes, it does have this importance, but I don't know how much of a product it would last on store shelves in 2019, 2020. And I feel like a lot of the people in the Bionicle realm are like, oh no, it would sell like hotcakes. Well, 2015 didn't, and then it went away.
Yeah,
so
no, you have a pretty good point. And this is something I've thought about fairly extensively, because this isn't necessarily the first time I've had a conversation about whether or not construction would do well in the modern age. And you're not wrong to say that there's a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not it would do well. Anyone that tells you that construction, specifically Bionicle, would sell like hotcakes is absolutely either ill-informed or delusional, because that's not true. There's nothing to suggest that's the case. Unfortunately, however, it's hard to judge how well it would do basing it off of the Star Wars buildable figures in Bionicle 2015. There are a few reasons, if you're interested for the breakdown.
100%.
Awesome. Okay. So when it comes to Bionicle's the larger one. So let's focus on the buildable figures, of which I also have two on my desk right now. I don't remember their names. They're from Rogue One. I never watched Rogue One.
Who cares?
So they're there. I'm not a big fan of them. So when it comes to these, they started up Cheetos and Biscuits. Where is it? Okay, so they started up in 2015. So the same time Bionicle started up again, in 2015. And you had a few of them release, and it's Star Wars. Star Wars is always going to do well. So us as consumers, well, we think it's always going to do well. So us as consumers, our understanding of Lego lines is that they generally plan for 3 years in advance. And in addition to that, off of that, we as consumers basically expect a theme's minimum runtime to be about 3 years, upped from the original 1 year that Lego often did in the late 1990s, early 2000s. They did a couple of one-shot years, Galador, Jack Stone, Slizers, Robo-Riders, all 1 year, all experiments, and then it increased. They planned out for 3 years, they got sets out every 6 months. That's how it generally is. So while Lego might not expect it to run for 3 years, us as consumers, I think for the purpose of conversation, can generally expect about a 3-year run as the minimum. Anything less than that is an indication that it didn't do well in Lego's eyes. So
hey, Angry Birds movie, what are you doing here?
So, with that as the baseline, Hero Factory, for instance, went for 5 years. That's pretty good. 2 years over the average. The Star Wars buildable figures went for 4, so 1 year over the average. And Bionicle Generation 2 went for a year and a half. It went for barely 2 years. Barely. It had 4 waves, so that's about 2 years, and then it was done. They hurriedly wrapped it up. So that would indicate, on the basis that 3 years is the minimum, that would indicate that Star Wars did above average and Bionicle G2 did below average. So when it came to Star Wars, we know another thing. It had 2 more construction sets planned to release that were canceled. We know this because we saw images of catalogs.
The Speeder, right? That was one of them?
Nope, that released. It was...
So yeah, it did! Wow!
Do you remember from Clone Wars that kind of metallic blue robot without a head, and it had the arm held up? It was really bulky, it was top heavy. From the second...
I'm not a Clone Wars guy.
Okay, fair enough. So they had, bottom line, 2 sets. They were going to come out, new pieces, new recolors. They had artwork. They were basically done. They were canceled, which means that the theme was canceled kind of like they were in a catalog, and none of the retailers purchased it. None of them.
Is there images of that? Can you show that or no?
I can't show it here. I can send them to you, though.
All right, cool.
So I'll do that afterwards.
Sure.
So they were going to be released, and no retailers bought them because no one was buying Constraction Star Wars. Now, the theme, the sub-theme, ended in 2018 with 7 sets. What was happening in between 2017 and 2018 to Star Wars?
I don't know.
All Star Wars merchandise, all of it, across any toy maker, was suffering massive lack of sales.
Oh, yeah, because Star Wars is trash. I'll be the first one to say
it. The Last Jedi is trash, but we'll get on to that.
Yeah.
Star Wars merchandise plummeted. Sales dropped for everything. The market had been super saturated by not only Star Wars toys, but Star Wars films and other multimedia. Because at that point, we had had a film per year, and that shot Disney in the foot, because they had Solo, then they had Last Jedi, they had Rogue One, then they had Last Jedi, then they had Solo, now they're taking a break, and now they're going to release another movie this year. Actually, I don't know if they took a break. I don't know when Solo came out. Regardless.
Solo came out May last year.
Okay, fair enough. No break.
Technically, no. Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless, all the merchandise suffered as a result. All of it. There are articles written about this. There was a major issue with selling Star Wars merch because it just wasn't selling. This was in between 2017, after the release of The Last Jedi, that pile of trash, and 2018, which would be last year, so Solo. And it continued on for a little bit. I don't know if it actually rectified or not. So the theme starts off in 2015, runs for its 3 years, hits 2017, which is its 3rd year, and then ends in 2018, the next year. Up until that point, I mean, it was consistent as far as what was being released. You had 6 sets for the initial launch, and you had 9 in 2016, 9 in 2017, and then 7 in 2018. So it's not like it was inconsistent. But we were going to get another 2 in 2018. It was going to be a consistent 9, but the retailers did not buy it. They did not pick up any orders for them, and as such, they were canceled. So it's hard for me to judge how Constraction would do in the modern age, because one of our examples is Star Wars. And Star Wars had a massive issue because Star Wars was having a massive issue. So that's why, for me, it's hard to judge it as a Constraction theme, because it was so intrinsically tied to Star Wars.
As someone who has worked in retail, I had encountered a lot of the grandmothers, the moms, the people who are making a lot of the final calls when it comes to a lot of these sets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been, in my experience, I was working in retail when BIONICLE launched in 2015, and it happened where people came out and like 5 people were like, "Oh, this is awesome," and then everyone else was like, we don't care." And then there was literally dust on the boxes, like It was bad.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, and the same thing sort of happened with like the Solo stuff, like. All the Solo stuff was on sale. Just get it out of here. It was not performing well. And that's obviously partly because the movies are what they are. But I don't know how... like, even some of the better selling Constraction figures were not selling at the rate of other things were.
Oh, yeah.
So I think... It can come down to all right, as much money as this could make us and whatever, this can make us more money. So forget about this. We're going to put more eggs in the hidden side basket and go for this instead of a Constraction line. And I think that's what it comes down to. Now, the way that I think they could do Bionicle and pay homage to the fans and I don't want to say appease, but like give a solid reference to it and have Lego acknowledge it was actually, ironically enough, in the concept art that was just released, where Rex had a Bionicle companion.
Oh yeah, Takanuva. Yeah, I remember.
Yes.
We talked about. I mean, heck, there's a Bionicle reference in the bus, the hidden side bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if Rex had a partner like that in the Lego Movie 2, I think that's the perfect dose of, all right, here's this character that is clearly not a main character, but if people are freaking out enough about him enough and he's cool enough, and I'm talking like general mass audiences, I'm not talking like Lego fans. Lego fans in general are a microcosm in itself.
Yeah.
I'm talking like the market, the big capitalistic market, okay? Mm-hmm. If this character takes off, then cool. We'll greenlight this Bionicle series and do it this way with these colors and this sort of standard. We'll try it. But I guess they don't have enough faith in Bionicle or a constraction line performing well enough to make it worth their time. And instead they're going into something else, which is why, I mean, we're getting the most amazing Lego theme coming out next year. Get excited, everyone. Trolls and Minions, baby. That's why we're getting.
Yeah. I forgot about Minions.
But the thing is, it's going to make a lot of money, but in the same vein of Angry Birds. I think that's only going to be a one-shot line. But when you're going with R&D and you're trying to figure out what's going to be most profitable for your bottom line, especially coming off of the Lego Movie 2, which was, all the sets are on sale at the Lego store right now. Like, people did not buzz enough about it like they did the first Lego Movie. Doesn't matter what us fans think. It did not perform anywhere near what the first Lego Movie did, and that threw a socket wrench in all their plans. And then that's coming off of the Lego Ninjago movie, which I have no idea why that even existed in the first place. And then the Lego Batman movie was fine because it was the only good DC movie to come out in the past 5 years at the time it came out.
Accurate.
So they had that going for it. So I don't know if Lego has the audacity right now to want to go into a constraction line or revive Bionicle for a third time to try it, or keep going with the constraction figures or anything, because like Brickheads didn't work out for him. That did not. The second they started coming out, I'm like, this is Lego's version of a pop figure, and it's not going to work.
Which surprises me, because I think Brickheads are better than pop figures.
Yeah, I agree, because you build them and like whatever. But clearly, that's what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be this collectible thing that people buy for $10, and you get a ton of them, line them up on your desk at the office, and whatever. So it's in that same vein as pop figures. But why didn't it catch on? I really don't know, honestly. Mm-hmm. But it's a great stocking stuffer for kids and for parents to buy. $10 is cheap enough. You buy a couple on a whim. There you go.
Yeah.
But I think that Hidden Side is going to do very well, and hopefully Trolls and Minions does well enough for them financially. If the movies do well, which they most likely will, they'll make a good buck off of that, and that gets us a little bit closer to me getting my Nintendo line of Lego sets. So I don't care what happens. So
now, you're not wrong in a few aspects. For starters, I'm not advocating for Bionicle to come back. I actually don't want it to come back. I think if it stays gone, that's fine. I'm perfectly content with that. I also think you're right in that Lego isn't interested in bringing a constraction theme into focus or into market right now. I also think you're right about that. But all I said was only about Star Wars. We hadn't even gotten into G2. So G2...
Sorry, go ahead.
So G2, this is the other half of things. So if Star Wars wasn't selling after a certain point because Star Wars merchandise isn't selling, then why did Bionicle fail? Because Bionicle was very large, obviously. And real fast, a good friend of mine works retail at Target, and he has said the exact same thing about Constraction Lego. They don't move. Constraction Star Wars. He said that they've had sets on shelves for literal months, and not a single one would sell. So he works at a Target, and he's saying exactly what you're saying. So you worked at retail Lego. Star Wars didn't sell there. He worked at Target. He only recently started for about like a year and a half ago. Constraction Star Wars does not sell there. So we can agree it doesn't sell. The reason why I'm not sure about it and its validity, and not validity, it's how well Constraction sells is because it's intrinsically tied to Star Wars. So what's the caveat with Bionicle? It's not tied to an IP. It's been 4 years since it got canceled. What's the issue? So Bionicle...
I have it.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, please.
So my idea, and I have heard people who are absolutely not Lego fans
Okay.
talk about Bionicle, and they're like, dude, Bionicle was so sick, you got him in the canister, and they'll talk like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like Bionicle was the greatest toy, and then when it came out in 2015, they're like, oh, this sucks. No.
Yep.
So I think that when in 2015 they came out, it was more of a nostalgia trip done right. Because I know there's Bionicle All-Stars, but they did not reflect what they looked like back when the original ones of each of those characters came out. Like the Paraka does not look like the Paraka at all.
Oh, yeah, it's a completely different Paraka.
Yeah, and I think if you enticed those 20-year-olds who are lapsed fans to get a Bionicle that was similar to the old ones, then I think you would see a bit more of a boost in sales. Part of that is also the idea of getting it in this big plastic container that unlocks this hero that comes out of the can. It's like a whole big thing. Those plastic canisters are slaughtering the environment. They're not going to do that now. That's stupid.
They will never do plastic canisters, as cool as they were. And trust me.
Yeah, absolutely not, because that doesn't make any sense. They're going to get rid of plastic bags and, straws are the next thing. Why would they go back to that? No, of course not. That doesn't make any sense for the environment or for cost or anything. So that nostalgic point in itself, that feeling, that idea of what it is already a product of the early 2000s / late 90s, the past. It's this idea that it comes in this container, that it's this thing. So I think a lot of it was tied to the nostalgia. They needed to play more to that for 2015 and for a future release, which is why when they saw G2, they're like, what is this garbage? Get this out. Why would I want it?
So there is actually... That's good theorizing. I'll tell you exactly what the problem is.
Okay.
Nobody knew it came out.
Interesting.
Lego fans knew it was around. Or at least Bionicle fans absolutely knew it was around. And you're right in that people were saying, this is garbage, I don't like how this looks at all. Because here's the line. Here's the progression. So we start with Bionicle Generation 1, 01 to 2010. And you have a set wave coming out every 6 months. And almost every aspect of that set wave is marketed through story content. And story content is in 3 different forms. It's in books, it's in comics, which come free with a Lego magazine subscription, and it is in online content. That can be games, that can be short stories, that can be animations. It's a variety of different things, but these products are heavily marketed and given an intrinsic value to a fan of the franchise because of these products' role in the story. So that's how the marketing is being done with all these different things. Books come out every few months. Short stories come out whenever, sometimes even weekly, bi-weekly at times. And then you have animations here, there, etc. And then they had the commercials and so on and so forth. Even the canisters, the original canisters from 2001, were story relevant. They were canisters that the characters arrived on the island in. They were pretty intrinsic to the entire plot. So you have all of these things very heavily tied together. And again, Bionicle, it's not doing enough justice for me to just say it was a phenomenon. It was a global encapsulation. It was a big theme. It was a really big theme. So saying that means Ninjago is massive. It's huge. It's much bigger. That's why you see a lot of people that aren't Lego fans going, Bionicle was so rad, bro. You remember growing up? I had the red one. That's why you see a lot of people doing that. They're not Lego fans, but they knew about Bionicle because they knew Bionicle because it was so large. You'll see a lot of YouTubers talking about that. Like, a lot of them. Like, even PewDiePie, the largest YouTuber on the platform, has said he's mentioned Bionicle in the video. Actually, he had a Bionicle mock featured at one point. Regardless, it was Wario. Okay, moving on. Bionicle is very story driven, and its marketing is very public, and it does have that nostalgic tie, like you're saying. The people that didn't know it came back were the YouTubers that we just talked about. No idea. The general public had barely any freaking clue that Bionicle happened again. Bionicle fans had barely any clue that it happened again, because the marketing was so watered down. Forget how they look. Forget the fact that they're in boxes now. That doesn't matter. What matters is that it had almost no promotion. The biggest flash it had was a flash in the pan at New York Comic Con. It had this massive booth. You could see it. It had an after hours kind of exclusive look for Bionicle fans to get their hands on parts early. And that's it. That was its biggest exposure. We went from Bionicle in 2002 having commercials playing in Times Square to one display at New York Comic Con in 2014. And then everything else is relegated to haphazardly handled online animations that were 90 seconds in length for like 30 different, 20 to 30 or so different animations, 90-second animations that were watered down, childish, almost very, very appealing to a young audience, but not the older audience that it appealed to prior. Mm-hmm. Short, really easily digestible animations that were only online with no consistent release schedule. So you didn't know when they were coming out. And episodes would release in different languages at different times. English was by no means the priority language, which is fine, except that none of the languages were consistent. We never knew when they were coming out, and it would be weeks before you would get an episode in English at all. So your English market is confused. They're still waiting. Your Russian market is well attended to, because constraction is actually very popular in Russia. But it's haphazardly handled. There's one commercial for the first wave, one commercial for the second wave, and I can't tell you if it aired on TV at all, because nobody ever talked about it. I never heard anyone saying that it was on air whatsoever. Back in the day when Bionicle commercials were on television, BZ Power, the largest Bionicle fan site, they would talk about it. They would have a news article going, hey, so on this station, this commercial is airing. Let us know if you see it. And a slew of people would say, yeah, I saw it. It was super rad. And nobody knew if it was on TV. The marketing was shot. See, I am a professional. And these
even
are
the
my
dogs are mad, dude.
They're my professional podcasting dogs. Please
the dogs
forgive
are
them.
livid about the marketing, man.
Yeah, dude, they're big Bionicle fans. Apologies.
That's all good.
So, dogs.
It's more authenticity. It's fine.
Okay, then we'll continue on with them yammering.
You'll just have to hear my chicken that comes in later tonight. They have a rooster that comes in, actually.
Really?
He helps with my videos occasionally.
Oh, that's awesome. I've got some chickens and some one rooster and a bunch of chickens, and they stay far away from anything I'm doing. They are very antisocial.
Yeah, but how many potatoes do you have, though?
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, that's a lot, probably.
Yeah. It's Idaho. Potatoes are everywhere.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
So you have one commercial for the first wave, one commercial for the second wave. Nobody knows if they were on TV, and you have one commercial for the third wave and no commercial for the last one. So your first year is these 90-second animations and two commercials, which just probably are not showing on TV at all. Nobody knows it's happening. After Bionicle was canceled, you had a slew of people coming back to see, oh, hey, Bionicle. Wait, it came back? Bionicle fans didn't know it was back. The mainstream consumer had no clue because it wasn't marketed almost at all. And then finally, I had a 4-episode special on Netflix. 2 episodes that released in like March-ish, and then 2 that released at the end of July. And that was it in 2016, and then the theme ended. Like, the cancellation was literally right after, like hours after the last episode aired on Netflix. It was done. So you had 4 episodes in 2016 as your marketing and 1 commercial, which nobody knew if it was on TV. That was the extent of it. The reason why is because after the release of the Lego movie, Lego had a bit of a problem. They had a lack of product, because the Lego movie was so absolutely massive. The demand for Lego just went through the roof. And so Lego decides, all right, we're going to try and control the demand. And so they cut back on all of their marketing. What did they do? When did this happen? 2014 through 2016. When did BIONICLE come out? 2015 to 2016. So the marketing on all themes was absolutely shot. Nothing. Bare bones, outside of maybe a few. Ninjago being a notable exception because it was a massive, massive theme, and it has a TV show that runs on, I think, Cartoon Network. So the demand does go down, as we can see with the Lego Movie 2 and the Lego Ninjago movie. But now your marketing is gone for BIONICLE, something which was so massively prevalent in media back in its heyday. Like, we're talking, it's in Friends, it's on Disney Channel shows, even Stevens had several appearances of it. It's in a lot of different, it's in films. BIONICLE is huge. It's in, do you remember the Sarah Connor Chronicles for the Terminator show?
Yes.
BIONICLE was not only in the show for an episode, but it was name dropped with characters and story information from a character in the show playing with the toys. In 2008, well after its heyday. So BIONICLE G2 suffers significantly because nobody freaking knows that it's out. They have no idea that it exists in any capacity. And then fans of the franchise are like, this looks like Hero Factory, because they're already tainted against it, because BIONICLE ends and Lego follows it up with Hero Factory, and so they're ire. They are quite irritated about it. They don't like Hero Factory. I think Hero Factory in hindsight is actually kind of a fun theme, full disclosure. But they don't like Hero Factory because in their eyes it replaced BIONICLE. So they don't like HF. HF introduces a new building system. BIONICLE G2 uses the building system, and so they equate it to HF and don't like it. So fans of it are poisoned, and the general audience doesn't know it exists at all. And that's why it's really difficult from a G2 perspective to figure whether or not constraction is viable, because it was wrong place, wrong time, and honestly wrong atmosphere, because that's entirely without touching the quality of the story, which is really BIONICLE's main draw outside of the sets. Like, the sets are really good from a constraction standpoint, but the story is not. That's
so
kind way of
from what I was. So basically, what you're saying is BIONICLE is as if, you know, it was going to a casino and it promised its parents, hey, I'm going to make you $5,000. Shows up to the blackjack table, and then the casino's like, hey, we're shutting down, bye, and leaves. And then BIONICLE's like, all right, well, I can't make this money. Goes back to parent Lego and is like, oh, well, you suck, bye. And then they got to look because the casino shut down. It's not your fault. It just, like, all of a sudden, bam, the rug was pulled out from under you, and then, you know, that's it.
BIONICLE never really had a chance to be reintroduced to an audience again.
Right, because the casino shut down. It didn't have a chance to prove its worth at the blackjack table.
Exactly. And I mean, it's an easy assumption to think that BIONICLE would do well, because it has done well, historically. The only reason it didn't end up doing well later on is because, for starters, Lego has done a much better job of evolving their practices when it comes to marketing and getting themes out there. That's why I think Hidden Side is going to be a really big hit. I'm super excited for the potential. But back then, they kind of just let the theme go. And BIONICLE obviously uses specialized pieces. Making new parts is very expensive. So it's a huge drain. So as sales declined, the cost of production stayed high. So it only made sense to cancel it. That's why I think CCBS is actually a really good system, because it's far more like a system basis and you can reuse a lot of the different pieces. You only need to introduce a few new molds here and there. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, those are the optics. That's kind of the reason why it's very difficult for someone like me to agree heartily that constraction wouldn't work. I don't think that LEGO wants it to work right now. I don't think they're really in a position to bring it back, and I don't mind. That doesn't really bother me. But with these two examples, our most recent examples in the modern age, I'm left needing something more and definitive. Like, imagine what would we see with a constraction line that had Ninjago level marketing and all of I'm leaving it at that. Ninjago level marketing, books, a show, games. What would we see from that? And to that, I honestly don't know.
What it comes down to is making sure when you're making something like that, there needs to be creative energy and passion coming from the right place.
Yep.
And that goes for honestly anything you do in life. You want to make sure, you're not going to, I feel like if you go at it from like all right, here's this thing, we're going to market the out of it and it's going to work. And if it's not something people wanted or something people didn't realize that they wanted and it's just marketed for the sake of it, then it's not going to perform because it's garbage. But when it's got something good behind its intention, even though it is supposed to make money, it's a product that's made for sale, then when you give it that enriching backstory like Ninjago, when you have a great message behind it like the Lego movie, when you have these actually worthwhile things behind it, then I think, and it's my philosophy as a air quote businessman, that it will work. So I think that is kind of apparent in the Lego movie 2 or Ninjago movie, for example, because it's like, we're going to make now we're going to make this to sell toys. And it's like, but yeah, that's not. So
yeah.
As long as when they come out with a new constraction line, it's an idea that it's a story or a line or a concept that needs to be told in the constraction art and is worthy of being something to invest your time and your money into, I think is what it comes down to.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that when you put passion is seen when passion is put into something by passionate people.
Yes.
And BIONICLE had that in spades. I had, just a couple weeks ago, I had the author of the BIONICLE novels, Greg Farshty, on, and we talked for about 3 hours about a myriad of subjects. And often when we were talking about BIONICLE, you could tell he had a real passion, not only for writing, but for BIONICLE itself. And I feel like a lot of that translates well into the novels that he wrote. Like he gave certain... He gave perspective on a lot of his writing process, the process of writing the novels, how he felt about writing them. Certain answers to questions made a lot of sense, contextualized. But you could really see he was passionate about this. It was a huge part of his life. And he put a lot of time and effort and passion into what he was writing, into his interactions with fans for well over a decade. He's still doing that. He still answers questions to fans. Granted, he still works at LEGO, but he's still very active in that and passionate about it. And I think that is another reason why people are still so passionate about BIONICLE now, and why you see these large gatherings at Brick Fair, Virginia, is because there was a passionate team of people from 2001 to 2010 that put a lot of time, effort, and soul into what they were making, and it showed, and it translated, and it inspired a lot of different fans to become passionate about a whole slew of things. And BIONICLE was just the start of that. And they're putting their newfound passion back into what made them passionate about things. Is another reason I would assume people still enjoy it and still gravitate toward it to this day.
And I absolutely see that. And I knew that you would provide a bit more context to the situation because you're so in touch with that aspect of the community, which is why I'm glad I'm here and I can hear it.
Yeah.
And enrich my my sight into the realm of Bionicle, and I do see, if anything, I see a lot of passion from the people that love the Bionicle, the line in general, and everything it's become, and I understand it in that sense. And even with, people having a passion for a product, unfortunately, with a big company like that, the marketing and the execution of the line itself financially is a much bigger thing than just, oh well, if you're passionate about it, then it'll work. Like, that only
Yeah.
works to a certain scale, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
these people are dealing with billions of dollars here. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they when they're making a line, they're making hundreds of thousands of sets at a time. They got to make sure it's worth investing in. And I think, like you've said before, it's the perfect culmination of getting just a bad hand from all points of view. So
Yeah. And that's
I
not
see
to
that.
that's not to say that it would have done well. Absolutely.
Right, right.
I think that it is perfectly reasonable to doubt the not the success, not the legitimacy. There's a word, not
Viability,
validity. Uh, there's
feasibility,
sorry, what?
feasibility.
Yeah, that we'll go with that. So there's good reason to doubt the feasibility of construction in the modern age. I think that's actually perfectly reasonable. I think there's a lot of good reason to suggest that it isn't feasible right now, because buildable construction figures and action figures in general, maybe they're not as popular. I don't know. I've never seen the sales statistics from modern action figures. I'd
And you
love to see them.
could argue that's for toys in general because everything's switching to digital. But I think there is a place for physical toys, no matter what,
I agree.
because kids want something physical to play with. Hidden Side is great, and I think it's a good basis for the future of what Lego should be if they want to integrate more technology and whatnot into it. But there is something still to creating your own custom creations from a box of nothing
Yeah.
to do that. So I think that, and Lego is so timeless too. That
Yeah.
is a massive selling point to Lego, and that's why parents are so willing to buy it for their kids. Yeah, it's expensive, but all the pieces they use as a kid works with what they're going to buy in the store today, and the quality of the toys for a lot of other companies has tanked because everything is outsourced to these other countries with inconsistent printing qualities and things fall apart. And that's just the nature of, that applies to appliances and other technology. That's just how it is. But Lego has always taken a lot of pride in consistent quality, which is why I don't mind spending money on it and collecting it and showing off that I am a fan of it because of what it can do. It's different than having a bunch of wrestling figures hung around my office in the box. I feel, like if I took, the woman of my dreams in here, and she looked at my wrestling figure collection, she might be like, that's a little weird. But like Lego, you can see all the cool stuff that it makes and how it inspires people, adults, kids all around the world. It's just a different vibe. So I think there's obviously a place for Lego, and you combine all the different themes like Stranger Things and Disney, forget about it. That's still able to print money, but it's a matter of adapting to that and making sure what they're doing long term is feasible, whether it's construction or otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Lego, it has a certain quality to it, and I don't think I've ever run into anyone that I've ever invited into the house and has seen my collection and have them to my face go, that's a bit odd. They're always looking at it with, whoa, wow, that's really impressive, that's so cool. Everyone always sees the collection and you're like, that is awesome. I don't know if it's because it's Bionicle or if it's because it's Lego. I have no idea. But they never go. I think you're right, and I actually think that there is an argument for entertainment going to digital from physical. However, at the same time, Lego profits are up. Lego sales are on the rise. As of the last report that they gave out publicly, they're doing well. They are going up. Lego has never been as popular as it is right now, I don't believe. So, I have no idea. I legitimately don't know. I think that it's reasonable to suspect that constraction would not do well. It would not sell well. Bionicle would not sell well. And I think it's accurate to say that Bionicle, in its original form, was lightning in a bottle. It was created in circumstances born from necessity, from people that didn't work for Lego, that were contracted specifically to work on the project, that brought together special qualities that you're going to be hard-pressed to ever find in that quantity or that specification ever again. And I think that's perfectly fine.
And would you agree with what I said earlier in that it is indeed a product of its time?
I don't know. I don't necessarily disagree with that, because I think aspects of it certainly are. Like, 2006 with the Paraka, Parak, that, and
exactly.
move along.
Right.
I think that's, while it's tacky, I obviously have a bias for it, because I grew up with it, and I thought,
I think it's cool, too. I saw at Brick Fair, Virginia, all the Paraka, nobody was buying that. And I'm like, dude, this is the coolest thing in the bin. What are you talking about? I'll buy this. That's fine. A lot of them were dirty, which is why I didn't buy it. But, I would have bought them.
Probably because most people had it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
People already had it.
I don't actually think it's... I don't think you're wrong in saying it's a product of its time. I've never given that a whole lot of thought. Legitimately. I don't know. I think that's something I need to think about.
By the time you have me on the next time, then you'll have your thoughts and we can discuss it. Put it to rest.
Yeah.
It's on a resting place.
Yeah, I'm going to give that some serious consideration, because I don't actually think that that's an inaccurate thing to say. Because, especially in Bionicle 2001, where you have this... I don't know if you could really do Bionicle 2001 now the exact same way, because Lego, even at the time, got in a lot of hot water for using words from the Maori dictionary.
I wouldn't even say that would be the reason. The Bionicle from 2001 are very robotic and mechanical looking, where a lot of media now, you can see it most. So, are you familiar with Pokemon at all?
I grew up on Digimon. No. I'll be honest.
Okay. Oh, you grew up on Mamma Mia! You grew up on Digimon. Get out. Anyway.
Oh, okay. You want to go? You want to go?
Dude,
all right, that's it.
All day.
All right, Tentamon, Digivolve.
We'll be here another 4 hours. So the thing is, if you looked at Ash Ketchum, the lead character from Pokemon, to what he looks like in 1996 compared to what he looks like today, night and day difference. The eyes are a lot bigger. The mouth is totally just different. Everything is smoother. Everything is with this different coat of paint. And I think Bionicle would need to see that same thing. You can kind of see the difference between the first of the 2015 line to the first of the original line. Rugged robotic look, I don't think would hold up, because media right now is different. It's a different coat of paint. So
everything's a lot sleeker and a lot more modern and a lot more minimalistic.
Yes, and Bionicle would absolutely need to play into that, even though part of their initial appeal was that they were these rugged robots that would battle each other. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's why I'm saying also it's a product of its time, because the early 2000s had that sort of vibe in other media, in music, in culture. It did.
Very rugged, very grungy, very greebly.
Yes, 100%. The Linkin Park of the Lego realm, I guess. It's just got this angst about it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Linkin Park was actually, one of their songs was used in a test animation for The Legend Reborn, a Bionicle movie that released in 2009. Okay, anyway. Sorry.
I'm a Linkin Park fan through and through, so it's all good.
Once you get me talking about Bionicle, it sounds like a different language. I can illustrate for you in a moment, but I think that's a really good point. I honestly do, because I think Bionicle fans really like that greebly look. I think you have to do it a very particular way. I have a bias toward the original Bionicle sets. I have a bias toward all of them. But specifically, the original 6 Toa. The original ones from 2001, I have a strong bias. You can see it on my Twitter banner. I am wearing the green one's mask almost everywhere. It's my favorite Lego set, period. So it's clear I have that bias toward him. But I also personally think that a lot of the 2015 sets are better sets from more of an objective standpoint. I don't have a preference toward them, but I do think that if you were to compare the two, that they are better. I don't know if they're better looking, but they're definitely better builds. They have better articulation. I think that certain aspects of them are better, and I think a lot of them do look good. So I think that is a good point. That's something I'm going to consider.
And we will bury this in a future episode. There's so many more things we can discuss, but I think this segment needs to be touched on again in the future.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Very, very briefly, let me illustrate for you exactly what I mean by another language. How much do you know about Bionicle lore?
Nothing.
Okay. So Bionicle starts off with 6 canisters landing on a golden beach on the island of Matanui, and the Toa heroes, they land on Matanui. You have Tahu, Gali, Liwa, Kopaka, Onu, and Pohatu, and they are on their way to defeat Makuta. So they go to their different villages. These are called Koros, and they are in regions called Wahis. And so they're on the island of Matanui, and they find their Turaga to protect the Matoran, and they have to go battle Makuta. And so they battle all these Rahi on the island to find Kanohi so that they can battle Makuta. They battle Makuta, and then right after that, they go up to the Kininui, and they find the Borak are attacking. The Borak are attacking all the different Koros in the Wahis. I'm done.
I was following you. I'm like, all right, here. Okay.
But do you know what Wahi, Koro, Kanohi mean?
No, not a clue.
There we go. But, yeah, it definitely starts to sound like something completely different.
Yeah.
So, all right, we will resume this. I will absolutely have you on again to touch upon this again. And honestly,
cool.
I don't know if I should keep the title of this episode the way it is. It's called Discussing Lego, Disliking Bionicle, and More with Brian. Do you think that's accurate?
It's not disliking Bionicle. It's a lack of understanding.
Okay.
So,
maybe I'll switch to Understanding Bionicle instead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because something like that.
I wasn't sure because like I had the understanding that you just outright didn't like it. So I had no idea.
That was the hook to get you into this conversation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. I was a form of clickbait. I got you in.
No, yeah.
And now you're like, dang it. All right, whatever.
People are gonna accuse me now of clickbait.
Hey, that's fine.
It's happened before. But
it gets the clicks, man.
I will be changing the thumbnail and the title, so before people accuse me. Regardless, do you want to get into some email questions?
Yeah. Unless you want to know anything else that you have question, I don't know. Then yeah, sure.
Well, is there anything that you would want to want more to touch upon, more to elaborate on, or more to clarify?
Not in particular. I feel like a lot of people would have questions about my involvement with the Brick Show from yesteryear, but I would rather people just ask questions specifically, and then I'll answer whatever. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, that's something I didn't even know. So I feel like we could spend an entire episode talking about that too.
100,000%.
All right, awesome. In that case, I'm going to open up question time. So I'm going to ask the email questions first. And then the YouTube live chat is now open for questions, so go ahead and ask whatever you shall. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Just can I ask you questions in general?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Well, because we haven't talked, and I don't know who you are as a person. You know what I mean?
Well,
I feel like you ask everyone all these questions, and then no one asks you a question.
I'm going to be honest. I misnamed the show. There's no reason for it to be called the Eljay Johnsen Show. It's not about me at all.
Right. It's like, okay. So how are you? How are you? Don't lie to me. Don't blow any smoke. How are you, LJ? How's the life?
You know what? It's on the upswing. It's doing good.
Okay, good.
It's doing good. I'm going to be starting a new job. It's going to be interesting. I want to wait until I'm actually in it before I say what it is, but it's going to be interesting. Things are looking good. The weather's cooling down. I'm content. I'm happy.
Good.
Maybe a little busy.
Good.
Maybe a little intimidated by a workload that's going to be coming up because of a series I'm working on. But
that's fine. But that it's better to be busy than staring at a wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, most certainly.
I feel like you're one of those type of people that always has some sort of creative juice flowing. You got to get it out.
Yeah.
You know.
So. Oh. All the time, especially when it comes to making individual videos. Like I do a lot of reviews, but I like to have like a cold open, and that really allows me to delve into a lot of creative aspects of making videos and playing around with a setup or characters or making jokes and stuff like that.
Totally. And for context for anyone who may be in the YouTube chat, I'm willing to answer like anything, big questions. It doesn't even need to be about Lego. Just ask me whatever. I don't really care. If you ask me for like dating advice, I'll do what I can. whatever you want to ask, totally fine.
Excellent. In that case, let's start off with the first email question. We have the first email from Kevin A. Hinckley.
Okay.
I'm not familiar.
That's a Russian.
Yeah.
Russian descent.
He asks us. Here's a couple of questions for internet sensation Brian Saviano, aka Brick O'Brien, on the next.
Please, I'll have your autograph in the mail. Thank you.
Excellent. Question 1. What are your biggest takeaways from your time working at the Brick Show?
Huh? The can's open. All right. The can's open.
Brink.
So does he have a bunch of questions, or is that just the one?
There's one other question.
Okay, so you want me to answer one and then
we'll do it one at a time.
Okay, cool. The biggest the biggest takeaway. Oh man. So I thought about like there's gonna be some talk of this, and I've been very quiet about the situation just because like I don't have the energy to talk about it. Like it's a whole big thing, and I made sure I didn't think of predetermined answers. That way I can answer them like that, you know? So the biggest takeaway from working for the Brick Show was the importance of support among your fellow creators, your higher-ups, or your subordinates. So for the most part, even when I was working for them, what I was doing was always basically a one-man operation. There was rarely ever collaboration because, you know, Steven and Jason live in Florida. I live in Boston. And then what are you going to do? You know, they didn't want to do a podcast or anything like that. So it was always just me doing something by myself. And I hate that with a passion. I am a beast of talking to other people. I need human interaction. I need to collaborate. I want to reach out to other people. And it's not because, let me go on your show to like boost my attention and blah, blah, blah. It's not a business sense. It's just that, like, I just want to talk to people. Mm-hmm. If I'm sitting in my office for 10 hours a day recording videos in solitude, like that sucks. Like that's not fun. Yeah. Like I can make it as fun as I can, but without doing things like live streaming or like having this sort of thing with you here and going to a brick fair or whatever, then me as a human being is going to suffer. Not even my channel, my whatever I got going on. It's not about that. So the importance of that really shined through, because even if I was having a rough day or I was stuck or miserable given whatever circumstances were happening involving the Brick Show or real life, you know, it's not like I had a support system like I did at the Lego store. Some of the people I would say almost all the people that I met through the Lego store that I worked at, they were some of the most outstanding people I have ever met in my life, and so incredibly supportive and so just amazing. And I love a lot of them. And I didn't get that when I was being in my office by myself. Mm-hmm. And I need that. So whatever it is I do long term, I need to have people on my side with me, collaboration and getting things moving and not being in solitude here. That's never the long play term. I would either start up my own group or whatever to collaborate with other people, but I can't I can't be by myself doing this. It doesn't make me happy. So that was one of the biggest things. Maybe the biggest thing I would say, sure, there's lots of things I learned, trust me, but that is the biggest one.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, I can relate pretty heavily. I thrive on interaction and a lot of the social aspects of working with people. So I get exactly where you're coming from. Okay, next question by Mr. Hinckley is, who are streamers that you personally look up to and why?
Ooh, okay. So we're going streamers. That's going to be Twitch-related sort of stuff, I guess. Mm-hmm. So there is a couple people that I'm looking at via my Twitch stuff here. One of them is a creator that goes by Snowbike Mike. He is involved with this group of online creators called Kinda Funny, which I watch very frequently. They're more gaming news orientated sort of stuff. And Snowbike Mike, it's all one word. And whenever I appear in his live chat on Twitch, he'll greet me by being like, "Oh, Brian Saviano, he's here!" And like, he radiates a level of positivity and energy that I strive for every day. And I try to keep it as positive and as involved as I can. And he is definitely someone that I admire and someone I want to collaborate with that is just very good at what he does. He makes you feel very welcome when you go into his live stream. Mm-hmm. In that similar vein is definitely Brick and Nick over on Twitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely made a name for himself by being not only a fantastic builder, but being very high energy and welcoming into his live streams. I have talked to him once at Brick World Chicago, and I don't know what the interaction was like for him, but I was like, "Oh, hey, I really like what you do and whatever," and it was not as like there wasn't much talking. So I feel like I would want to have a similar type of conversation like this with him. Be like, "Oh, hey, this is what I do. This is who I am. I'd love to collaborate with you at some point, whatever." Mm-hmm. So he does a fantastic job at making you feel welcome in his stream. And when you're being live, I think that's one of the most important aspects, that you feel involved. Because if you're not going to talk to people in the chat, then why are you going to do it? Just record a video. Mm-hmm. So he's fantastic at what he does. In terms of like, remind me of the question again, exactly?
Streamers that you look up to.
Yeah. Okay. That's a pretty good basis, I would say, right there, at least of like related to me and family friendly people that I could recommend. I mean, I think there's something to take from like Ninja or those bigger streamers, because they are learning how to market themselves as if they were celebrities and knowing how to scale their operations and putting a lot more quality time into their setup, you know, taking things more seriously, making sure the content is good itself. So when you combine that heart, spirit, and soul of the two streamers I just mentioned with the appeal to a wider audience and the quality of it, then I think you're going to get a very big recipe for success. So that's what I try to live by. Not that I'm trying to like blow up, but I know that if I'm putting my best foot forward, putting my heart into it and making sure it's quality, that I think that's something people will be inherently drawn to, which will make more people happy in the long run. And that's been my goal since day one, honestly. So.
No, that's fair. I can get behind that. I obviously think that there's an aspect of family friendliness that is also important, that I think you briefly mentioned, and I think it's just good to be accessible to everyone.
It doesn't make sense when you're playing the latest Mario game and you're dropping F-bombs. It doesn't look good. It doesn't make sense.
I feel that way about a lot of Lego content too, especially a lot of...
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, Lego is still a toy. It is still aimed
100%.
at children. There are obviously sets and themes that are aimed at older individuals. Bionicle was a lot like that too. It was aspirational. A lot of the older kids got into it, and the younger kids looked up at the older kids and they were like, "Oh yeah, I want to get into it too." and the cycle repeats. But at the end of the day, it is still a kid's toy, and it still has a young audience, and I think it's important to be accessible to the young audience as well as the old. Don't talk down like you were saying, but just be accessible.
And that's something I actually want to touch on for a hot second, is the positivity aspect of, making content in general. I have no room in my heart for types of content that'll bring other people down, that will kick other people down or demean other people and be anything but a positive influence in the community or in any capacity. There's no room for that in today's society of all these things going wrong in the real world. Why are you going to go online and be a jerk? And why are you going to go online and drop swears and do whatever when playing a kid's game or building a kid's toy? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make you look good. And with me, I swear like whenever I want, when I'm by myself or whatever, but that's my own business. And it's not that I don't want to swear in my videos. I have learned how to be as entertaining as I am, to whatever degree you see me as entertaining, without needing to swear. And I want to refine my craft without, yes, talking down to people, but I don't need to swear to be funny or entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone this whole show without swearing, and I'd say a lot of people, I would hope or like to think, are fairly entertained.
I'm entertained.
There you go. So I don't need to drop an F-bomb to get your attention, is basically
exactly
the moral of the story.
Yeah. And I agree. I don't have anything against swearing necessarily. I don't.
No, I don't either.
I've taken it to an extent where it became kind of a vocal exercise for me. Kind of like an improvisational exercise to an extent where how can I use expletives, but they're friendly expletives, like A Christmas Story. That's where I got fudge from. Yeah. Because it's funny. Who doesn't like fudge? It's delicious and chocolatey.
Exactly. I'll tell you the most, a brief story about how it was kind of justified that I had a kind of a meltdown. And it wasn't on camera or anything like that. But I was over at here at my office, and I was trying to hook up the Super Bowl on my TV, and now I don't have cable. So between going to like the CBS app, trying to hook up my computer to the TV, getting the PlayStation to work, the Xbox to work, the blah, 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 nothing was working. And this is when New England is in the Super Bowl, which happens every year, so it's not a big deal, haha. But I want the thing to work. So it took 10 minutes, and this is the Super Bowl biggest game of the year. I want it to work immediately, and it wasn't working. Mm-hmm. It wasn't my fault. It just wasn't working, and I didn't understand why. And then I finally got it to work. And like I had, because we had ordered pizza and stuff, I had taken like a plate and like just threw it at my garbage can, and I'm like, why is that so difficult? And I just swore. Like, my friends hadn't seen in a while, and they're looking at me like, dude, are you good? Like, why are you freaking out? But it wasn't working, and I'm like, So I think in that sense, to get it out, it's like, all right, well, it's justified. Like, you're ticked off, but like, you don't need to swear to make your point. Just when you're aggravated, just, it's a stress reliever to an extent. It's fine. It's fine.
The Mythbusters conducted a test at one point where they put their hand in a bowl of cold ice water and they held it in there. And if you hold it in there for long enough, that's going to hurt like nobody's business. Yeah. And what they conducted was whether or not swearing would relieve the pain or act kind of like a placebo to help you get your mind off it. Fun fact, it does, according to them, which I found interesting. So yeah, I see where you're coming from. I take it to the extent where I just start rattling off a bunch of different things to express my discontent, like, son of a cactus in the middle of the Arizona desert, and stuff like that. I just think it's fun. It's fun to do. But yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. Yeah. Okay. You sent me some questions from your Facebook. I appreciate you sending these in an email. I'm going to use these people's first names.
Sure.
Okay, so first question is from Kate. My son and I would love to know how you've made gaming your profession. He is really into games, classic and current, on all sorts of gaming systems, and would love to hear the path you've taken to get where you are now.
So, the path to that was, it's going to be different from how it was back when I first started. So, when I started in like 2009, it was still the Wild West of the internet, in that my mother, when I told her what I was doing, she's like, "You're talking to strangers on the internet?" And now you order a car from your phone and hop in a stranger's car. So it's a much, much different society now. That's not to say there isn't still dangers and whatnot out there. Of course there are. But it's just a different thing now. It's seen differently. More people have Facebook and Instagram than ever before. It's privacy and whatever. So I had started back when I was very young, and I had always had this idea of what I wanted to do when I was very young, that I wanted to bring joy to people in a way that I hadn't experienced when I was a kid. So that meant telling jokes by whatever means, without obviously offending and hurting people and demeaning other people, and then finding whatever means I could to make what I could happen. And as I've gotten more traction with what I'm doing, I find that the cheesy things that people say are, what you should do to attain, quote, success, of like, you just got to work with what you got and keep trying and you'll get better at it. That's all true. And especially with young kids in this generation, the becoming a YouTuber and having your podcast and playing video games for a living is akin to a generation or two before us, where you wanted to be a rock star and you all had a band and you all tried to get big and you all try to do that. So there's going to be so many kids who are inspired by people like me, by you, by Ninja, by whoever, that want to get into this thing. And it's going to be more competitive as time goes on. But if you, and in my specific situation, with me getting onto the Brick Show, since you had no idea I was even on it, I'll tell you the story. I think it was New Year's Day 2013 or something like that, 2014. And I had messaged the Facebook page and I was like, hey, where can I email someone? And then Jason gave me his email. And I had noticed on their YouTube channel that they were doing gameplays of Lego games, and it was in 4:3 video resolution, no gameplay, no like audio, like commentary, anything like that. It was just straight up gameplay. And I had been recording gameplay videos to the extent that they're garbage, but like I was doing it for years. Mm-hmm. So when I saw one of my favorite YouTube channels was doing this thing, I had this moment at 17, 18 years old that I'm like, all right, as professionally as I possibly can for a 17 or 18-year-old kid, I'm going to email them and say, hey, your videos are garbage. This is what I've done. Let me do them. And I never mentioned money. I never mentioned anything. I was just like, let me do this for you. Because I want to. I want to see this thing grow. I want to see this channel grow. I love what you guys are doing. If I can have any involvement, please. And without much hesitation at all, Jason was like, yeah, go ahead. No, it's fine. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, go ahead. Here, make videos for like $20 a video, whatever it was. I'm like, huh. Cool. Nice. That was easy. Actually, wait. Did the batteries die? The batteries died.
Oh, no.
There it is.
Oh, I thought I killed it.
No, you might have, but no, not quite yet. I'll replace the batteries anyways.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was that easy. And there's a song that I think of that I'm assuming you're not a hip hop fan, right?
I wouldn't call myself a hip. I mean, I'm not really a fan of genres generally. I gravitate towards songs.
Sure.
Mostly, so.
There is a song by a artist, Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
He goes by Fort Minor. There's a song that is the name of the song is "Remember the Name," and the chorus of it is it's 10% luck, 20%
okay.
skill,
I know of that
15% concentrated power, will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. It is that. It is that perfect combination of all of those things that drive you, and the luck aspect of it is the only unpredictable part of it, really. And there is something to you making your own luck. And you need to make sure you keep yourself open to opportunities. So I'll give you a perfect example. I was sitting at Brick Fair, Virginia, after I had done the mosaic for the day. And when I say I was exhausted, I was every bone in my body hurt. My eyelids were twitching. I was seeing like flutters in my eyes. I was like, what is... So I was sitting down and I'm eating, and then I look over and I'm like, I want to go talk to that person. Cool. And I'm like, should I do it? Is this the right time? Is this the wrong time? Blah, 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 blah. And I waited in my head. I waited. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go. And then I walked up to Kevin, and I'm like, oh, there's this person I want to meet. I want to go meet him. He's like, oh, you got to do it right now because they're going to go away. I'm like, all right, cool. And that's how I met you. Because I sat there, and I'm like, I want to meet Eljay. I'm going to do it right now. Go. Just do it. Don't even think about it. Just do it. Because I wanted to make that connection. But if you wait for that wrong time, that right time, that whatever, you're never going to do it. Mm-hmm. So when you have this flicker of like energy that drives you, you just let yourself kind of like snap in a way, and you just give into it and just go. And you make it happen. You allow more opportunities to happen. Like if you overthink it too much, then you'll stay stagnant and you won't ever go anywhere. So that is a big part of it, is just saying, forget about it. Not forget about it. That's where I would drop an F-bomb here and say, F it, go for it. So that type of mentality will open more doors for you than I think you understand as you're getting older. So it's that idea, and that idea to not keep your head down. Make sure you keep your head up. Look for opportunities. Make yourself approachable for people to talk to you. You know, greet people with a smile, things like that. Just make yourself more prone to just allowing more situations to happen that'll breed success. That is an aspect of it that I don't think many people consider. And I know this is asking for like young kids. This question was from like a mother who has a young kid. So it's that positivity, it's that happiness, it's that approachability. You know, if you're off in the corner with your headphones in, looking at your phone, being antisocial, nothing's going to happen. You got to put yourself out there and take a risk. You got to roll the dice. You got to do all that. And I need to swallow my own pill too and do that sometimes. I have a lot of trouble with that too. As much as I can talk for hours on end, there are plenty of times where I'm like, I don't want to put any energy into this. I fold. And more frequently, I can't fold. I got to do it. I got to put myself out there. I got to try doing this because that's what I preach. So there's that. And that is what I would say. And that's why that positivity and happiness is so important. Making sure you're happy and you put yourself in a good position to meet new people and have more success in doing whatever it is you want to do in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I relate to that strongly. A lot of times, like at Brick Fair, Virginia, just going up to people saying, hey, how's it going? People I don't know very well, just saying hi, being happy, and making sure they're happy too.
And if they think you're a weirdo, you move on, and that's it. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I am a weirdo. The first time I went to Brick Fair, Virginia, I wore a mask the whole time.
That's exhausting, dude.
You have no idea, especially when your field of vision is about the size of 2 mailbox inlets. You know, that little, like that slip where you put letters in?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bigger than that.
Why was that a thing you did out of curiosity?
I didn't show my face online for many, 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 many years. And it was an ongoing thing throughout my reviews that nobody knew what I looked like. And nobody knew what I looked like. And I had to keep it up because I was going to do a proper face reveal later that year. but it was going to be in a few months' time, and I had to keep it up.
So it wasn't for fear of people knowing what your face looked like?
No, not at all. Because I had already planned to reveal my face, but
Gotcha.
I needed to be right. It needed to be proper. And
Sure. I get you.
yeah, exactly. So I kept up the charade, played the character a little bit longer. It was fun, but very stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine. But no, that makes sense. Okay, there was a reason behind it.
Yeah.
Like if it was I don't want people to find out what I look like because then my identity is compromised. And it's like, dude, you can Google your name and everything. Like everything will pop up, like your address, your birthday, like everything. Like that's.
Yeah. Now my face is pretty publicly out there, so it's no big
There you
deal.
go. Mine is too.
Perfect. All right. Next question is from Kenzie, who asks, I have one question. How did you want this job to affect your future?
That's another big question. Oh, LJ, we're gonna be here a while. I hope you don't mind me. I hope you don't mind.
Bring it.
So I had always known that my actions were going to have repercussions, good, bad, or indifferent. So I knew since taking the job at the Brick Show and entertaining kids and it being a young audience that like I can't be seen in X environment or doing X thing. You know, I can't go to a bar in a Bricks O'Brien hoodie and start knocking back vacation juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's not, I can't because that's compromising like my identity and whatever. So it's convenient enough that a lot of the things that would be seen as like adult things to do generally don't interest me anyways. So there isn't much of a conflict between like, oh, I want to go do this thing, but I can't because I am Bricks O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to see me at like a club. I mean, you will, because I've told stories about how I've been to clubs with my friends because they forced me to go. But I'm not at a club to talk to women. I go to a club because my friend dragged me, and we ditch him to go get pastries in the North End of Boston. So, and that's a true story, 100% true story. And there was actually a guy dancing around on the dance floor wearing a bear hat, serving like chicken strips to people on the dance floor. It was a really weird bar. So those type of situations, and I'll make a joke out of it, and that's actually true and whatnot. So a lot of that stuff doesn't actually matter that much. The only issue where it comes into play, and I'm realizing this now as I'm trying to put myself out there more and you know, meet, you know, get into a relationship and put my, like if I put on a dating app that I am Bricks O'Brien, it's like, oh, well, any conversation that it could be seen, you know, like if I'm flirting with a girl, then, oh, take a screen cap out of context. That's not a good look. Like, but like that sort of thing, I'm afraid of just because you never know what's going to happen. And like, I'm not like a creep or a weirdo anyways, but like, you know, like flirting is a game. It's you know, I don't know. Like, I'm not an advocate. Like, I'm not smooth with the ladies in any capacity, but the game of flirting could be easily taken out of context, and that's my own, you know, thing to overcome. So when I have an answer for that one next time, I'll come back to you. But I make a lot of my connections in real life anyway, so
I think that's the most ideal way to go about that. Is just
100%.
person. And
I like going to PAX East, the video game convention. The issue is so many people are already YouTubers that are like, hey, baby, I live stream on Twitch. And they all come off that sort of way. And I'm like, I don't want to be that creep. I'm just going to leave everyone alone. And then I sit in the corner and get. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
you know, that's my own thing to overcome. So, yeah, when I have a proper answer for that aspect, I'll let you know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Is there anything more? Do you want to move on to the next question?
No. I think that's a pretty good summary
awesome.
There.
Okay, two more of the Facebook ones. Erica asks, if you could live in any world of games, where would it be and why? For example, I would live in the world of Minecraft so I could build all day.
So I thought I needed to think about that for a while, but I actually don't. I would live in the world of Pokemon. Because I have often thought if I were a trainer, what team I would have and what I would want my position to be. And my favorite Pokemon is Piplup. It's a blue little penguin. I really like penguins. And so I would have one of those as my starter Pokemon and have a whole team and just like existing in that world where these creatures that can battle, but also these various regions and cultures and the new discoveries of Pokemon. And Pokemon is a basis for animals in real life. Like that's what a lot of them, if not all of them, are based on. So that is the world I would live in. And ideally, I'd be hitting the jackpot. And if I did, I would have an entire like underground cavern, ice cavern for all of the Piplup or Empoleon that I have. And all my Pokemon would be like I don't know. It'd be like a cool squad, squad up thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would absolutely live in Pokemon. No other world. And it's so lively. There's so many people. Like, it's very full of life and new discovery. So, yeah, definitely that.
Yeah, like Digimon.
Next question.
Next question is from Pamela, who asks, when you began your journey, did you realize the influence and impact you would have on kids? You are a part of many families, including mine. How does that feel?
So that's the kind of question that like makes me think, and I don't like that because I knew that I would be impacting kids to at the brick show buy a Lego set or do whatever. And as I have told my own personal stories and grown as a person, I find that even people are like, there are frequently kids say that they have watched me for like 4 years, 5 years. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, that is baffling to me. And I didn't think the amount of people that message me with like awesome and powerful stories of how like my videos have helped with their kids' lives in whatever ways has been like incredibly heartwarming and more that I could ever have thought or asked for, even at the small scale that it's at right now. Like I am nowhere near popular or have the influence that like Beyond the Brick or any of these other people, but with the amount of people that have told me how much my videos mean to them is amazing, and I'm so touched by it. And I don't like thinking about it too much because then I get very emotional because it means so much to me.
Yeah.
So it's a very sensitive topic, and I even amongst my friends, like I tell a lot of my friends about how like this story happened or this person said this, and it's very touching and heartwarming. And but even with them, I don't like talking about it too much just because I'm like, I'll start crying. But but it's just like, oh, man, it's so humbling, and I'm so happy that I can be an influence to kids' lives and a positive one, because I've tried to be the best role model that I can be, and I hope that'll continue for as long as the people of the internet will allow me to, because I know that I can be a good role model and put positivity into the world. And I have no doubt about that at all. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of people willing to listen to me and accept me for who I am and deal with that. And you know what? That's all I can ask for. And like people like Eli, who is in the chat right now, has been a diehard Brooks O'Brien fan since day one. Like, there's so many people who are like diehard fans, which is weird for me to say and sounds egotistical, but it's true because they say it. They're like, no, we've loved your videos for this long. And it's mind-boggling when I actually think about it. So, yeah.
That's a great answer. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is from Sirlojon, who asks, if you could switch the runtimes of any two LEGO themes for instance, having Bionicle G2 run as long as HF and vice versa, what would they be? For instance, I would switch HF and Exoforce. So, for instance, HF ran for 5 years, Exoforce ran for 2.5. So he would switch those two, so Exoforce would run longer.
So, shout out to Exoforce.
Yeah, I love Exoforce.
Exoforce is dope. Now, for full clarification, I am not an anime fan at all. And I see a lot of anime influence with Exoforce, and I think Exoforce is dope. So that just lets you know how much I'm into that and how much I really appreciate and like that. What theme I want to come back? Or, like, I mean, ideally you want to extend the life of something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So last episode, because this question was asked then as well, I think I switched Exoforce. I switched either Exoforce or I switched Bionicle Generation 2 with Fabuland.
Interesting. Okay.
Because Fabuland ran for 10 years.
Wow, yeah.
So presumably then Exoforce would run for 10 years too.
I would say I know what I want to extend. I don't know what I want to... Oh, no, I know it. And this may be a controversial answer. Let me explain myself, too.
Okay.
I would switch Hero Factory with Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger. I'm not familiar.
Lone Ranger, the Western series.
Okay. So you would have Lone Ranger run for 5.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that I would do that because I have this affinity for Western types of themes. Red Dead Redemption is one of my favorite games of all time. So, like, that's a whole big Western thing. And the second one is, it is what it is. It's the newer. And I really like the Western aesthetic. I think there's a lot that LEGO could do with it. I think that of all the older themes that adult fans keep bringing up that they want back, I would want Western to have more time in that spotlight. Not even necessarily Lone Ranger, but I think Lone Ranger is the best bet. As the most recent iteration of Western, the movie tanked and was garbage, but the sets themselves were dope. The carriage is awesome. The Continental train chase is really cool. So there's those aspects that I would want to see explored further. And Hero Factory, I have no affinity for at all. I don't really care. So just whatever, do it for a year and then extend it so that way there's more Western stuff. They can make a whole, like, I got the Bricklink Western Saloon because it's just so dope, and it's the most LEGO Western thing that's officially going to happen, at least for a couple of years. So I would say that. I don't think it would do well, but I would switch it just so I could have it,
Yeah, no, I get you. Okay, not a bad answer. I answered last week, but I don't remember. But yeah, no, I like that. Okay, it's all the email questions. YouTube comments. Okay, I gotta scroll up. Gosh. Where do they start?
I kind of looked at him for a half second, but I didn't want to interrupt either of our trains of thought, so...
This is usually how it goes, so...
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So, you referred to him as Eli, I believe? And
yes.
Eli asked, what is the name of Brian's old channel?
It's not... I had a bunch of channels, dude, and they're all deleted anyways. They're, like, all the videos are deleted, everything is gone, so it doesn't really matter. I don't care to share, honestly, because those were videos that I sweared in and just was being a punk, so it doesn't reflect who I am today. So it's like, I wouldn't want anyone to know about those just for the sake of it not reflecting who I am today. So, not that I said anything bad or awful.
Yeah,
it's
like, not a 10 years later scenario, of course.
Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't matter. I have all my videos on a hard drive that I have for my memory's sake, and will show one day, like, all right, this is my evolution as a creator, and show kids what it was like. But, like, the videos aren't live in any capacity. Anything has been deleted or privated or anything like that. Just to keep things consistent,
Yeah, no, I get you. I know what you're saying there. Okay.
Sorry, Eli.
Let me see. Next question. Brother W asks, question and suggestion. Firstly, Brian, how was your day?
It was good. I was on like an hour and a half sleep for all of Friday, so I kind of crashed last night. I was up super late talking with my friends, and I edited some of my final episodes of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild playthrough, which is by far my longest playthrough I've ever done. It's like 50. It's going to be 50 episodes. It's crazy. Goodness. And yeah, that's been good. And I get to talk to Eljay for a couple hours, which has been stellar. So yeah.
Oh, I'm happy. This has been stellar.
Yeah.
This has been fun. All right, the suggestion was, LJ, how about making a Discord server for your small community of livestream viewers? Just an idea I got.
Work.
Yeah, that's basically the summary. It's a lot of work to manage. I am already... See, I have the Discord server. I mean, Brian, you see it. It's here.
Yeah.
It exists. But it exists in the capacity only to facilitate the show. Otherwise, it's something else I would need to manage on a plate that's already well full. Maybe one day, like I was asked about like activating super chats eventually, and it's like the same general answer. Maybe one day, but it's by no means something I'm super invested in doing right now, and definitely less so for a Discord chat, because it would definitely be a lot to manage, and especially with like hecklers and stuff. I don't want to deal with that. Most of them I've already weeded out of the chat, so.
So I had a Discord server that actually Eli, I think, started. And I didn't start it officially myself because I'm like, all right, I don't really care, whatever. And no, Eli and a bunch of other people were like, oh, no, you should have one because this is a really good resource or whatever. I'm like, all right, if you guys make it, whatever. And I wasn't on it frequently enough that there were so many people that joined and then were never active again. And when I put my stamp of it on there, that implies it's family friendly. If something happens and I don't see it and someone else doesn't delete it, and then it compromises that family-friendly guarantee, air quote, that I have, then that falls on me because it's my official Discord server, even though Eli started it or whatever. Even if it were my own starting, like, if something happened there, then I would be responsible. I can't keep tabs on that. I got enough going on as it is. So I even left my own Discord server. I'm like, listen, guys, I can't do this. I'm out by. Like, it was too much. So I can't even imagine for you. It's just another thing to keep up on. I don't blame you at all. It's just...
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. So I won't say no, but I'll say definitely not now.
Yeah.
But I appreciate
good means of wording it.
What was that?
Good means of wording it right there.
Yeah. All right. King Forte asks, have you heard of spy bots? They used technology in their sets to move around, and the PC game that came with it was good too.
No idea what you're talking about.
I have heard of spy bots, though I am only familiar in the sense that there's a piece that was used in BIONICLE. We traditionally call it a Borak Eye. The only set that it was released in trans purple was in one of the Spybot sets. Other than that, I'm not familiar. So.
Cool. Sounds interesting enough.
All right, Tree of War Productions asks, will you ever get Minecraft Java Edition?
So I have a Minecraft server that people play on, and I have it on the Bedrock Edition so other people can play on like the Switch, and it's cross-platform, so you can play on PC and all that. I'm like debating on what to do with that server as it is right now, so I don't even know, like, why would I need Java for, like, I don't know. So I guess I don't know / I don't know. So.
Well, I think you need to get Minecraft Java, for I am the Minecraft superfan. There's a story behind that, but regardless. Fair enough. That's understandable. I keep saying that a lot. I have Java and Bedrock, but Bedrock came free, and Java I got when it was in like beta, so I like it.
Yeah, I had it back then too. I just lost track of my account, and yeah.
Ah, dang. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Sakota asks, Brian, what do you think about LEGO going more into video game themed sets such as Overwatch?
Let's go, baby! More. I think Overwatch is 7,000 years too late. Why is it a Lego theme now? Please stop. But because no one cares about Overwatch. Overwatch is a games as a service sort of a thing. There's always something going on, but like there's so many games that are like that it's tough to keep track on all of that stuff. And in terms of the public consciousness, even in the gaming community, Overwatch is dead and buried for like 2 years. Like it's done.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Even if they add more heroes, playable character, it doesn't matter. It's dead because there's so many other things. There's so many other things that are in the consciousness, like Destiny and the Division 2.
Yeah, but Destiny sucks though.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's a thing. So, and I'm not saying Overwatch is a bad game. Overwatch is fantastic. It has its own competitive league and definitely has its own audience. But in terms of bringing new content, it's just not. It's not in the same consciousness as other things. So, I think that for video game themes, I thought Portal was a weird choice for LEGO Dimensions. I love Portal. Chal is one of my favorite minifigures of all time. I got 2 of them, and the Portal gun is a great piece. I think Sonic being in LEGO Dimensions is absolutely unheard of, and I love it. I want as many LEGO video game themes that make sense as possible. Blizzard has a license for Overwatch. They make Overwatch. It's Activision Blizzard. From that, people are like, oh, we're going to get StarCraft and Diablo? You're not getting those 2. No. But could you see Crash Bandicoot and Spyro? I hope so. That'd be dope. But the ultimate theme is a Nintendo license for Lego, a match made in heaven, something I could go on for literally 4 hours in one cohesive train of thought without interruption and talk about. So I'm not going to get into that. We can get into that another time or whenever. But I can't talk any further about that. I'll get too into my head.
I shall not incite thee.
For the sake of this conversation not going on until 12 at night,
Understandable. Okay. That next question is from the Dark Master, who asks, what is Brian's thoughts on the Skull villains from BIONICLE? Personally, I like most of them, even Skull Scorpion, but I know only Kulta was any good.
The only villain I care about is Makuta because he's cool looking, and the Paraka, if they're bad guys, they're cool looking too. So that's the extent that I really care.
No, that's fair enough. I don't think you would know the Skull villains at all.
Yeah, they're like the weird skull-looking things from the Generation 2, right? Is that it?
Oh, okay, yeah, no, you're right. Yep, that's correct. So, okay. Yeah. That's good enough for an answer.
No opinion.
Okay. Next question is from Brother W, who asks 2 important questions. 1, what is your opinion on The Last Jedi?
Trash. Absolute trash.
Wonderful. You're welcome here anytime. Next. I hate that movie. Next question is, have you ever eaten a mangosteen?
I had heard that Joey ate one, and I'm like, cool. I guess that's like the initiation into the Cool Kids Club, so next time.
Okay, fair enough.
And actually, this is a tangential thing. Yeah. So I want to clarify something, and I don't know if you quite realize the circumstances or whatever. So and this is for everyone who was listening and watching. I had my first interaction with you, LJ, was when me, Kevin, Joey, and a mutual friend, Dan, were coming out of the convention hall, and you and 2 other TTV guys showed up. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, we had a handful of us there, and yes. I remember.
And so let me explain myself, because we had just worked an 8.5-hour day of lugging stuff constantly.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So when and I was exhausted, and the way that I am, if I take a shower, I totally get revitalized and I'm good, but I was sweating bullets, I'm sticky, I'm like, I need a shower, let me get out of here.
Especially in the Virginia heat and humidity.
Yep. And so I'm just like, I'm in the place of like, I just want to chill, I just want to, like, give me 10 minutes. And then the 5 of you, the 3 of you, whoever, run up to us as massive balls of energy. And I look at this crowd and I'm like, I know that's LJ and I want to talk to him. Can't do it right now. And I just walked away. I just walked away. Like, I can't do it. I can't. So I didn't want that to come off like, oh, he's kind of a jerk.
Oh,
like
no.
that was my reason behind it.
Oh, that's fine. That's no problem.
Cool. I looked at the energy. The energy you guys were outputting, I'm like, no,
yeah. Oh, I
get
that. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, the conversation had to be cut short anyway because we were all hungry and you guys were all exhausted. So that made perfect sense to me.
You guys were so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and like, oh, it's Brick Fair. And I'm like, oh, like, just get me out of here. So that I wanted to clarify that just in case it was a bad impression on the very first start.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Cool.
All right.
Good.
A third most important question. What is your opinion on pineapple on pizza?
The issue is that pineapple is not cohesive with the texture of the cheese and the bread typically that's on the pizza. I am not opposed to the fruit juice aspect of it being on the pizza, but the consistency of the pineapple I'm not down for. Now, if there were like little remnants of pineapple juice with ham on the pizza, I think that sweetness in correlation to the crunchy crust, the cheesy cheese, it all combining together, that can work, but it needs to be done very well. But typically as it's served, it's not particularly good.
Because we've been having such a good time, I will agree to disagree. Respectfully.
Okay. But it's a very unique set of circumstances that I'll allow it. Okay. So I put a lot more thought into it than you might have initially thought. So it's certain. I've never had a Hawaiian pizza and been like, oh, this is the best pizza ever. So it's not like I like it. And when someone gets it, I'm like, okay, sure, whatever.
I've gone one step beyond. I've had mangosteen pizza.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. For the record, I actually do like pineapple on pizza quite a lot.
There you go.
All right. That's okay. We can have our differences and still have a good gosh dang time.
Of course.
Specifically because you said you don't like The Last Jedi. All right, next question.
Hey.
Cut the Craggle asks, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
The same airspeed velocity as when I sit down on a beanbag chair. So that's pretty quick. Gravity just likes to take control and I just go. So, yeah. That's pretty fast. I can't give you an accurate number, but I'll measure it and I'll let you know next time I'm on.
Oh, my gosh. Fair enough. Oh, gosh. Okay. Next question is from Eli. Who... wait, no, we already asked this one earlier. Okay.
Eli repeats a lot of stuff in the chat. Good man. He does do the same messages quite frequently.
That's okay. That's all right. King Forte asks, question for me about a video. LJ, are you going to play the Bionicle Legend of Matanui Rebuilt on your channel? And then the earlier question about Spybotics. I will eventually. Not a priority right now. I tried playing... So I wanted to do a Let's Play of... For context, Bionicle Legend of Matanui is an unreleased LEGO game that recently got leaked and has been fixed up by fans.
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. I will play it. I played through the unrebuilt version, the normal one, the beta, and I finished it, but wow, I was ready to tear my hands off because of all of the glitches and the bugs and the crashing. The crashing drove me through the roof to the moon. So I fear that might be the case with the rebuilt. I don't know. So eventually, but not immediately. So, all right. Okay, one more question, and we're going to go ahead and make this the last one. Eli asks, can you play Rabbids Go Home at some point, and will you get back to having a Discord?
So Rabbids Go Home, the reason why he's asking that is because it is the first game I ever did a complete playthrough of. Mm-hmm. And that is one of those games that I love that will eventually be played. There are a couple games that I want to play before Link's Awakening comes out. So for context for you and anyone else who isn't familiar with me, I play typically the newest releases that are interesting to me and that kids would want me to play. So like upcoming on the Switch is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch, Luigi's Mansion 3, Pokemon Sword and Shield, games like that. And then I typically play through the games that are a bit older that I grew up with that I want to showcase to kids who were not even a glimmer in their parents' eye when it released. Mm-hmm. So there are more games like that that I want to play that aren't Rabbids Go Home that I want to get to first. So, for example, there's Pokemon Soul Silver on the DS, which is one of the best Pokemon games of all time. That's going to come first, and then probably Paper Mario on the N64 before Rabbids, and then we get into the releases for later in the year. So Rabbids wouldn't be for a very long time. That's an older, more obscure game that, honestly, I don't think a lot of people would care to watch unless it was just because they wanted to watch me play it. But in terms of getting like a wider reach of an audience, I don't think many people care about it. So that's like for the sake of doing it to do it. But there's more important and bigger fish that I want to fry before I get to Rabbids Go Home.
Okay. Excellent. There you go. That's the answer. That's all the questions. Those are all the questions we have.
So, like, is this where it ends? Do you want to? I could do this all day, man. It's up to you.
I would love to do it all day. Unfortunately, this is where we're gonna have to call it.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
For what it's worth, it's external circumstances. I must unfortunately depart momentarily. However, two things of note. First of all, I'm definitely having you on again. Like, if not the next few weeks, then easily before the end of the year, because this was so much fun.
I am honored, and I promise my microphone, my fancy schmancy microphone, will work. And in turn of me being on your program, you need to be on one of my programs at some point.
I'm down. I'm down to clown.
My idea is to have the ultimate culmination of my favorite Lego people in a live stream for some building event for charity at some point or another. So I don't know what that would be, but I want it to happen. So you will be on the list for sure.
Awesome. Count me down. The other thing of note, I mentioned earlier, a few weeks ago, I had Greg Farshty on. Again, he wrote basically almost all of the Bionicle novels. He was pretty influential in Bionicle as a theme. He is my childhood author. I grew up on his novels. I talked to him one-on-one for about 3 hours.
Ooh.
The episode with you here today has lasted longer than that one.
Ooh! There we go.
And I think that's awesome. That just shows what a good time this has been. This has been a lot of fun.
100%. I had it as an idea in my head. This is going to be one of the best pieces of content I've done all year. And I'm proud to say that it has been, because you got the chemistry that works with just me as a creator, and you know what you're doing, and you have a lot to say that is important, and so do I, and we bounce off each other really well, and I like it.
That's the goal.
Good. Yes.
I'm so
no
happy.
Monotone content creation, no ums and buts and that. Like, it's all like snappy.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we're gonna
welcome to the show.
We're gonna talk about Lego.
My favorite theme is Jack Stone.
Listen, I've heard some people say their favorite theme is Galador. Never have I heard anyone say Jack Stone. I think
Why would you associate yourself with people like that?
Because they're wonderful people. Thank you very much.
That's what you think. Okay. That's what you think.
All right. Well, that's going to be it. But first, Brian, last question I always ask everyone. Where would you like people to find you on social media? Plug away.
So, if you Google my name, Brian Saviano or Bricks O'Brien, that is how you can find me on my social media. All the places you can find my content will appear there. All your support is greatly appreciated. And as always, I want to thank the people who were in the live stream that were from my side of the YouTube and Twitch realm to stop by and say hello to Eljay and welcome him into your hearts, because he does indeed do good stuff.
Hello.
You're supporting him. You're supporting me by supporting him. So there you go. So it's always appreciated whenever people invite me to a discussion from the Lego realm, especially given my history, that the Brick Show was seen as it was, and to be welcomed with open arms is awesome, and I can't thank you enough for having me on. And hopefully that there are people here who can find out a bit more about who I am and maybe stop by a live stream or a YouTube video, say hello. You'll get warm welcomes all the way through. So that's all I got to say for now.
Fantastic. I think that's a good place to end things. And of course, any and all links I can put in the description below to his content will be there. I highly recommend checking it all out. Super entertaining. You will be short none of entertaining content. I don't know if that sentence worked well. Short none?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Right, cool.
I say sentences that don't mean anything all the time. So anything you say is fine.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I'm content with that. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be everything. Thank you all so very much for watching, be it live or the recorded version, which will hopefully be up soon. This has been yet another episode of The Eljay Johnsen Show. The show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise, over on Twitter at The Eljay Johnsen, where you can find updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you send them over to my email, eljayjohnsen@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. That'll be it. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful day.